Hello everyone, this is Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I want to make sure that I am live. I am seeing green on my end, so I am going to assume that I'm live. I've been saying that I was going to do this, and I probably should have set a time and date that I was going to do it, but screw it. The case for Sanders. Now, I'm going to assume the position in taking the case for Sanders. I'm probably going to do a video assuming the opposite position and doing the case against Sanders. The real position doesn't necessarily matter. This is just purely for the sake of argument. And taking viewer commentary with regards to that case, the disagreements. Because usually, when I'm doing a video, someone inevitably says Bernie Sanders. And then everyone else starts talking about Bernie Sanders. And a few people often have a go at me because I am not more belligerent against Bernie Sanders. So let's have that conversation. Let's start here. And this is more comical than anything else, but I've been laughing at this all day because it's been stuck in my head. I can't get it out of my head, so I'm going to talk about it. So Liana La Havas, I wow over music and art. I wow over it. I find epicness in things. My wife jokes me saying, I make things sound so overly dramatic or so overly epic. Fair enough. I find epicness in small things because I think small things are epic. I think when you're listening to music and you're listening to art and these guys are getting across what they're feeling, ultimately that's all they're getting across, what they're feeling. You yourself are experiencing that because you understand what they're getting across and you feel bound to that particular person, that particular artist. It makes you feel something. At least for me, it makes me feel something. So Liana La Havas, she has this song, they say our love won't last forever and they could be wrong. Love it. That woman is a poem, just in general. She could be standing there, she's a poem. She's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And she has a voice that is amazing. Now, when she's making this argument, they say our love won't last forever. They could be wrong. Now, in my head, it's the Batman voice. She's not saying with a Batman voice. She sounds like an angel. But she's like, they say our love won't last forever. They could be wrong. And the entire song is her being defiant and obstinate. Now, the amazing and the beautiful part about this is they say our love won't last forever. They could be wrong. Accepting that they could also be right. There's a level of, it's like an honest defiance. They could be wrong. They could be wrong. Now, the beautiful part about this, too, I always ask the question, who is they? Who's they? What is this community that you're in that they're talking about? They're dogging your relationship. Now, take for the moment my finding this to be epic. My finding this to be immensely defiant and awesome, and I love it. It's obstinate. They say our love won't last forever. They could be wrong. They could be wrong. We could be in this forever. We could love each other forever. Now, assume for the moment. Assume for the moment. Now, my wife has a friend. She would never see this, so it doesn't matter. My wife is a friend. That friend was in a relationship for 3 months. And while she was in a relationship for 3 months, it was going to shit. Like, it was a horrible relationship. And she's like, well, we're thinking about canceling. And my wife laughed. My wife thought she was joking. And she got mad at my wife. She hadn't talked to my wife for months. But when my wife told me about this, I kind of said to say, what? What the fuck is she talking about? Canceling. What is she talking about? They've been together for 3 months. Now, imagine for the moment that this person who I'm talking about was Liana La Havas. And imagine for the moment that what she's talking about when she says, they say our love won't last forever, then they could be wrong, is talking about a 3-month relationship that was shitty relationship. And she's like, I'm fighting for love. I'm fighting for love. I'm going to counseling. I'm going to do whatever I can because I'm going to save this 3-month relationship that has been horrible from the start. Imagine for the moment that this woman who sings like an angel is talking about that very specific thing, a 3-month relationship. In her mind, she is fighting for love. I'm fighting for love. I'm fighting for love. She doesn't want to let go. I'm fighting for love. My wife laughed because from a wider perspective, you're in a relationship that's for 3 months and it's horrible and you want to be in a relationship so bad that you don't want to let it go. Liana La Havas in her head writing that beautiful song could have been with somebody who was horrible. She could have been with the guy for like 2 or 3 months. And she's writing the song talking about they say love won't last forever, they could be wrong. I'm making this point of perspective. Perspective is a difficult thing. We're ensconced in this reality frame that has one perspective that can go after the other. And I'm assuming for the moment, the perspectives are earnest. Like the things that the people are thinking about, the way they're crafting their reality. They're being earnest in the way that they craft their reality. She says, they say our love won't last forever, they could be wrong. And she's talking about a 3-month relationship. She's talking about fighting for love of a 3-month horrible relationship. That could be the case. I don't know if that's the case for the song. I'm making this point that in the mind of the individual, there's a certain perspective. There's a certain worldview. And in her head, I'm fighting for love. In somebody else's head, oh my God, you're in a 3-month relationship. You're talking about canceling. You're insane. Who's right? They're both right. There's no reason, there's no rhyme or reason that she can't necessarily get counseling in 3 months. It's her choice. By the same token, by human standards, it's kind of insane. It looks like you're overly attached. But in her head is what I'm getting at. In her head is what I'm getting at. When I was traveling the world, my kidneys failed. The transplant failed. And I said, fuck it, I'm going traveling. And I hopped from country to country to country to country. Somebody could say, that guy's immensely insane and he needs to be dragged to a hospital immediately. Somebody else could say, he's being immensely defined and he's making a choice to live. He's choosing what he wants. It's his life. He can do whatever he wants. He's choosing what he wants. That's fucking noble and epic. Which is true. Which is true. Both, to some degree, are true. Both are true. You're washed in the world where you can have perspectives that are both true, and yet in opposition to somebody else's perspective. My wife and I can have an argument. Both of us can be completely right in the perspective that we're taking. How do you resolve issues when you're stuck in a world where you're washed in these paradoxes of, of perspective? Now, I say that. I started this way because I want to have this conversation about Sanders. And I want to give the audience their opportunity to have a go at me about this. I am assuming the position. This doesn't necessarily mean I believe everything I'm saying right now. I'm just assuming a position. This is kind of going in tandem with the show idea that I was talking about, assuming a particular position. I believe most of this. And I give you a demarcation point of what I don't believe. But the argument, nevertheless, holds sway. Hillary Clinton was considered to be the inevitable candidate in 2008. Inevitable. I'm sorry, not in 2008. In 2016. To some degree in 2008 too. But in 2016, it was understood she was the chosen successor for Obama. And they were going to usher her in. And it was going to be Democratic rule for the presidency, even though they lose everything else. I'm going to put you in as Secretary of State. And I'm going to give you a platform that you can springboard into the presidency. What I need you to do, I'm taking the perspective of Obama here, is I need you to get those Pumas, the party unity my ass people who said they're not going to vote for me because my name is not Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton was a good soldier, and she said vote for Obama. And a lot of those people did vote for Obama, and Obama won overwhelmingly. Obama ran as this kind of flaming lib, but of course we need to go off of. That wasn't necessarily the case. Beyond that point, though, Obama gave this country this idea of hope and change. He didn't deliver, but he gave the country the idea. Meaning, if you're going to run as a candidate and you're going to take your sledgehammer, you're going to hit on the political point of I am change, I am change, I am change, hope and change. This country can be something fundamentally different than what it is. Hope and change. I am Obama. I am hope and change. You can tell I'm change because look at me, I'm black. I'm not like any other candidate that you've ever had before. And God damn it, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Now, it is like Obama ran a campaign on hope and $1 billion. I love that. I love that joke. What I'm getting at here, though, is you primed the country for something that country wanted. When Obama took office in 2008, the country was primed for change. They wanted change. It was screaming at the top of their lungs for change. He understood that that's what they wanted. And he exploited the fact that that's what they wanted in order to get in office. Now, you go to 2016. As the Democratic Party has told the country that this was hope and change, and the country is regarding you, they're judging you, based on what you yourself said that you were going to be. Now you're telling the country that, hey, the economy looks great, the stock market is great. I told you I was hope and change, and I delivered on the hope and change. Now the rest of the country is like, you're insane. You gave 95% of the wealth to the top 1%. How has that changed? You're obsequious to Wall Street. You are a goddamn warmonger. You passed a healthcare bill that left 20 million people still off the rolls. George Bush said he tortured people, invaded a country, killed 1 million people, that we're still in those countries today, and you let them walk. They collapse the economic market, meaning Wall Street, and you let them walk. And the question that usually come up is the fact that you got all of that money from Wall Street part of the reason why you didn't do anything about Wall Street when you took office, even though other countries put those people in prison? 2016, Hillary Clinton. What campaign is Hillary Clinton going to run on that hasn't necessarily been ran in the ground by the previous president? Not to mention, it's Hillary Clinton. She's the most hated candidate in history of candidates. And yet, the Democrats took the opportunity to say, it's her turn. Now, Bernie Sanders wanted someone else to run. So fair enough. He didn't necessarily want to be president. But he wanted to push the conversation to the left. And as he's in this campaign, he's like, I'm not going to do anything that's going to make you lose, because I think these people who are running against you are maniacs. That's how it started. Whether you like that or not, that's just how it started. Be fair, be honest. He gets in the campaign. He goes from state to state to state. And then you realize, holy shit, there are 10,000 people showing up to hear me talk. There are 20,000 people showing up to hear me talk. I am in one place after the next, and I am winning one state after the next. I wasn't supposed to win anything. The first Jewish person running to win a state. Nobody makes a big deal of it. They look at Hillary Clinton and says, holy shit, they don't bring up the fact that it was the first Jewish candidate. Gender, race, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But I'm just making this point. As he started to win one state after the next, there was this thing of, wow, maybe there's something here. Now maybe there's something here. Creating a new financial model for running politics. That's the first thing. Putting this kind of progressive thing on the map. Waking all of these people up throughout the country. Saying, holy shit, we can get involved in politics. Now, the argument against this, or the main argument, has been he sold these people up. He sold these people out. He took $220 million from these people, and he didn't run a campaign in a way that went for the jugular. Fair enough. Assume for the position for the moment that you're in his shoes. You didn't believe you had any chance of winning the presidency at all. At all. Your goal in this was to push the conversation to the left. Somewhere along the way you realize, oh my God, I'm catching fire. Not just catching fire, this is all throughout the country. I am beating every Republican candidate by like 10 points or more. I am even beating Hillary Clinton in national polls. Who knew? Now, the media has consistently told the public that this country is to the right. Bernie Sanders is running in a way where the country is distinctively to the left. Did the country know that? When you're going to vote for, let's say, Jill Stein or somebody else, and you have this esoteric other who's on your corner or on your shoulder, I would vote for Jill Stein if other people did it. Bernie Sanders was a person who allowed you to realize, holy shit, there are other people like me. And you have all of the stuff that started to catch fire, universal health care, college, all these things started to take place in the conversation that was nowhere in sight before. Obama ran as this kind of flaming lib talking about this is the most progressive president you can get. He himself admitted, for the most part, I would have been a conservative, I would have been a liberal Republican. It wasn't the best that you can get. The Democratic Party is not the definitive left. They're not left at all. If nothing else about Bernie Sanders, you have to, at the very least, give him credit for waking people up and getting people to the point of saying, oh my God, there is an alternative. There is something different. The Democratic Party is not the definitive left, and they're not representing what they're supposed to represent. This is the argument and the angle that Bernie Sanders has taken the entirety of this campaign as he attacked Democrats. Yes, he fell in line and supported Clinton. Yes, I hated the fact that he did it. Yes, I hate the fact he did the Russian thing. All that's true. All that's true. Did he wake people up? Are there more people that are on your side now? That, mind you, they were on your side before, but they didn't know they were on your side. Those people were robots, and those people were voting Democrat as almost a perfunctory thing. They would just give their vote away. You understand that you're in a different climate. He didn't give you everything you wanted, but certainly you're in a different climate. And you have to admit that the climate that you're in is impartial to him. That's my argument. It's not that he's a perfect man or anything else. It's just that there's been a fundamental change in American politics based upon Bernie Sanders. Have your goals at him. But ultimately, that's true. I don't think that can be taken away from. The argument is typically he is supporting and towing a Democratic line, and he's sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party. And that's true. That part's true. All right. Let's hear from the crowd. Let's hear from the crowd. Jamal's position. I worship Sanders and approve of him taking scraps from Clinton. I support Tom Perez. That's wrong. That's wrong, sir. Boo on you, man. Boo on you. Boo on you. J. Scott Garden stepped up to the debate. That's not a debate. That's a slander, sir. That's a slander. I'm working, but will engage as much as possible. Gardo. Luca Clemente. Ha. You know that's not Jamal's position. No, he knows it. He's having fun. He's joking. I don't worship anybody. And of course, I know he's having fun. I know he's joking. I hated the fact that he took Clinton scraps. Man, I hated that. I hated that. I resolved this in this way. I'm empathetic for things that I think human beings do. Meaning, what is the political pressure in that position? And what is your position if you said from the beginning, I'm not going to do anything to make Hillary Clinton lose? At least not in an overt way like running against her. What was he going to do? I just don't. I know people say he should have ripped away and went third party. I got to be honest. If Bernie Sanders did that, there would be a stronger argument that they could make that say he lost the election for Hillary Clinton. I like the fact that Hillary Clinton just lost. I like the fact that she's running around the country asking, what happened? What happened? And they're looking at her like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? This woman has lost her goddamn mind. While at the same token, popularity polls coming out showing Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician by far in spades. Now, looking at this from a purely political standpoint, which is a better position? Do you want to have the position where Donald Trump wins the election and they can lay it on Sanders? Or do you want to have the position where Donald Trump wins the election and they lay it on Hillary Clinton? I would prefer the Democratic Party fail on their own devices. That's my position. I don't like the fact that he supported her. But looking at the end result of it, it's a better alternative. It's a better alternative. Jay Scott, I told you not to tell anyone, Jamal. Garnome, Jamal is fighting for Bernie's love. That's what I'm getting out of this. We get the analogy, Jamal. Garnome, you made the right choice. Fuck it, you can. And that means, and then travel. I don't know what that means. Jamal, if you want to engage in live debates, talk to James. Why? Or I will pass it along. He's hosting a stream. Obama was a trap, and traps are gay. I don't know what being gay has anything to do with it. A trap, yes. He leveraged what the country wanted. The country wanted change. They were receptive to this message of hope and change. Donald Trump comes in with the exact same message. I'm going to make America great again. It's just hope and change for the Republican audience. Same thing. The country is looking for the exact same thing. I frame it this way. If a spouse cheats on you, you can either give them another chance or say, fuck that. There is no way to know if they would do it again. Maybe you won't, but I won't take that chance. But he's not your spouse. Bernie Sanders is not your spouse. He's not, he's not your lover. This is a Republican argument about Obama saying you can leave Obama after, first term stuff. He's not your spouse. He's a politician. I have a higher degree of respect for my spouse than I do for the politician. I expect them to behave in ways that's not specific to me. It's not your spouse. The fact that he stood up for Hillary after DNC cheated him and knew that it cheated him, I can't get past it. Okay, that's the weak point in my argument. That's a weak point. At least it's a weak point for me. I did not vote for the DNC purely because of that. Meaning, when I went to the polls to vote, I voted for Jill Stein. When we had the other election in Virginia about Tom Perrell and somebody else, I wrote in a candidate. I think I wrote in Bugs Bunny or something. Well, I think I might even wrote myself in. Yeah, I can't get past that point. You're right. You're right. But so what? That's a black mark. But we don't look at things as, you know, this perfect specimen of sorts. It's a politician. It's a politician. I don't like the fact that they cheated him. I hate the fact that he turned around and supported him after they cheated him. And I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get past it. That being said, taking ego out of it for the moment. And he got some Sanders to some degree of ego. I could be wrong at that point. It may not be ego. But whatever. Taking that out of it for the moment. Looking at it without this emotional lens. Take all of it out. Just look at it as what reality is. Do you believe that the position that Sanders and progressives and the left is in right now is better in the way things turned out? Or do you think it would have been better if Sanders ran as a third party? I think the former is better. I think the former is better. If Hillary Clinton was going to lose anyway, I don't want them tying that to the left. Now, they try to tie Ralph Nader to Al Gore losing. Al Gore didn't even win his own state. The reality of it has nothing to do with it. This is what I'm trying to get across. Politics is not about reality. Politics is about optics, the things that you can sell to the public, the things that you can get them to believe. Reality is a lagging indicator in this. Sanders could have ran as a third party. Would Sanders have won? I don't think Hillbots would have voted for him. I think it would have split the vote. I think Trump would have taken office. And not just that, I think they would have blamed Sanders in the same way they're trying to now. It just looks comical now. It looks like she's just trying to obfuscate from the fact that she lost. This is a better scenario. I hate it. Don't get me wrong. I hate it. But it's a better scenario. I just think it is. From a flat fact standpoint. And granted, this is postulating to some degree. The optics that I have is polls show Bernie Sanders the most popular candidate. Polls show progressive policies are on the move. Polls show that in the midst of this blackest night, that at the very least, the left for the most part looks decent when you're talking to individual people about the things that they want to get accomplished. I don't think they would have been that way if Sanders ran as the third party. That's my position. The Democratic Party needs to be destroyed. Agreed. Agreed. I think Sanders was supposed to bow down and withdraw early. Then his win in Michigan threw the entire scam into turmoil, so he delayed capitulation to bring in more cash and dupes for the string. Bob Ramirez. Look, the DNC is a corrupt organization. So is the RNC. The Republican Party is also. Both parties are fundamentally corrupt. Both parties essentially takes large amounts of cash and do the bidding of the people who give them that cash. Let's put that down. Now, I say that to say, some people have this belief that politicians have this kind of superhuman integrity. That just because they're getting all of this money doesn't necessarily mean they're doing the things or doing favors for the people giving them the money. I think those people are fucking insane. Bernie Sanders ran in a way where he attacked both parties. He attacked the fundamental basis and the underpinnings of the Democratic Party. What it boils down to is you are not what you say you are. Making this point of they are taking cash and they're doing favors. That's his argument. I'm trying to make this point that this was the argument that he was making during the campaign. They're taking cash and they're doing favors. They're being bribed. This is the argument he was using against Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primaries. That argument was biting because her argument was true. The argument was true. Now, if you're telling me that Bernie Sanders was some scamming in this way, now granted, you could take that perspective. I don't know why you're taking that perspective. That's kind of a harsh perspective, but let's say you're taking that harsh perspective. What is he getting out of this by going after them in that particular way? Because understand, that's getting to the heart of the matter. If he's using this language of plutocrats and populism and everything else, you understand that that's not controllable. Like, that's not one of those situations where, you know, you can shape the debate. You can be this kind of controlled opposition this way. The language that he's using is the language of the populace. He's using this class-based language. And usually in American politics, that's not done. You don't hear Democrats talk about class. It's off the table. He's using that argument about class, and he's using that argument to attack the party that is supposed to be using the argument about class. He's making this case of you are not what you say you are. This is what I'm getting at. The entirety of the time, he said he was going to go all the way because his goal wasn't necessarily to win the presidency. He didn't believe he was going to win the presidency. It was only later on when he was like, holy shit, I have a chance. I have a chance. Yes, he understood they were cheating him. No, he saw no political path forward to bring that up. And that's a problem. That, I agree with you. Of all the criticisms, that's the most biting. That's the most biting. This idea of you're being cheated and you kept your mouth shut because you were scared of being called a cheat, of a whiner. You got $220 million, dude. Your job as a candidate is by hook or by crook to do whatever you need to do to get into that office, because that's why people are giving you the $220 million. If that means you need to scream at the top of your lungs that you're being cheated, then you need to scream at the top of your lungs that you're being cheated. Period. Otherwise, don't take the cash and don't run. That part I agree with you on. I agree with you on. That was a failing. But my overall point is true. You're talking about a sea change in American politics. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think that can be challenged. Of all the criticisms that you can make of Bernie Sanders, that's the one thing that I don't think can be challenged. I don't think it can be challenged. I think we need a no-party system. No, I think you just need more parties. Like, 2 parties are easy to be gamed. You need additional options. You need people who are willing to take a position. Like, for instance, if you're talking about, like, Jeremy Corbyn, he takes a leftist position. He owns it. I am standing in this particular position. This is what I am. This is what my party is. If you don't like it, go to another party. Be strong in what you are. Own it. Bernie Sanders is strong in what he is. He owns it. By owning it, though, he's just a classical Democrat. That's the wild part. He's not a socialist. I know he calls himself a socialist in that way, but he's not a socialist. He's just a classic FDR Democrat. When he stands beside the others, it makes him look horrible, because he is an indication of what they're not. Are you telling me that's not a sea change in American politics? That's a fundamental change. I'm sorry. All the arguments that you can make about Sanders, some of them are biting. Fair enough. But he's just a person. It's almost as if people have this expectation of Sanders being this kind of superhuman figure. He's just a guy. He's a person. Just like you. Gets up in the morning, put his shoes on. He breaks wind in bed sometimes. He blames the dog. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. He plays his position in the same way that you play your position. You see certain things. Some things you miss. Some things you wish you could do over. Fair enough. Nobody gets everything right in everything that they do. He's not going to be a perfect human being, because he can't be a perfect human being. Perspectives are relative. What does he himself believe he can get accomplished? And does he himself believe that the path that he's going is the best way to do it? Yes. Is it possible that other people have criticisms about what and how he's going about it? Yes. Is it possible that the criticisms are true and his position is true? Yes. It's possible that the things that you're saying is true in the same way that the things or the position that he himself is taking or the path that he's trying to go is also true. Like, this is kind of why I hit this thing on perspectives. You can have multiple perspectives on a person and all of those perspectives be true. You're looking for this kind of aggregate. When I look in the aggregate, you have a lot of people who woke up. Those people were robots. Those people are not robots anymore. It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. You may dislike him. You may think he sold you out, but your position is fundamentally better than what it has been for the past 20 years. I'm saying that as a leftist, not as a Democrat. Those things are different. Those things are different. Dax Jacobson, Sanders would be nowhere today if he ran as a third party. Agreed. Dax, third party, the Democratic Party is a disaster. Anyway, yes, the Democratic Party is a disaster, but you still need to use the edifice. You got to clear them out. That party needs to be destroyed. Now, I say destroyed because it needs to be rebuilt in the image of an actual leftist. For that, it needs to lose. It needs to continue to lose its legitimacy. Either they change and they take a particular path, or they lose. That's my position. I haven't changed that position. I think that position is fundamentally right. It's not that, yes, some other party is going to spring up. It's that your fundamental basis of any change has to start with this idea of, no, I'm doing something different. Now, I can say that from the position that I'm in. I would say voters should say that from the positions that they're in. But Sanders is a different perspective. He's in a different bubble. He's in a different box. What he's trying to accomplish and his goals are different than the goals that you and I are trying to accomplish. That's all. I just think people are being a little overly harsh. the voters are the problem to some degree, Dax, yes. Tabitha Enriquez, he told us to the convention, even when he saw the polls saying he would win, he knew he was going to step down regardless. He folded. One of the hardest days of the campaign. Hillbots don't understand this. They don't get it. Their feelings are not invested in her in the same way that our feelings were invested in Sanders, because the feelings were invested in Sanders was for something greater. It wasn't just because of him. He represented something greater. He was an avatar in that way. He was an avatar of an actual better country, and this actual belief of somebody who was actually going to do what he said he was going to do, because he has a track record for the past 40 years of doing it and believing it. On the day with the DNC convention, where Sanders said, "I throw my support to Hillary Clinton," and he was sitting in the thing, he was crying, and it was like you had all of these supporters who were crying and weeping and bawling their eyes out, and it was like they raised his broken body up, like he was, you know, it's like those, I like to use the description of like barbarians in Rome, where the Democratic Party broke the progressives, like broke him. And as they broke him, they held his body up and held him in a cage so people could throw fruit and eggs at him, saying, "This is what you are. This is the breakingness of the progressives. Kneel. Kneel and vote for her. Fall in line. The guy who was the avatar of your will has been broken by the DNC. You need to kneel. You need to kneel." The breaking of Bernie Sanders. People wept. They wept openly. Because it wasn't just the breaking of Sanders. It was also this breaking of the idea of what the country could be. And this vision was essentially dashed. The avatar of that will turned around and said, "Vote for her." I called her a crook, yes. I said she was being bought, yes. I said she was corrupt, yes. I said she was for the TPP, yes. I said she was not for these leftist positions that she says she's for. She's aping my positions, yes. But vote for her. I contend that he said vote for her because he thought Donald Trump was terrifying. That's why. Now, you could say that was wrong. You could say he shouldn't have did it. But ultimately, he was running as a Democrat. And he was going to fall in line like every other Democrat. He said he was going to fall in line from the beginning. Does that mean that he didn't try to win? That's a different question, right? That's a different question. And yes, I'm being overly generous to Sanders because this is assumed position. I don't necessarily have to believe all this. Up until this point, though, I do believe this. Now, what I mean by that is, as a person, and in the context that the person is in, if he thinks, "Oh my God, this guy is terrifying, and at the very least, this is the crazy that I'm used to meeting Hillary Clinton," would you fall in line and be a good soldier and do that? Yes, I guess you would. Did it hurt to see? Yes, it did. It did. The breaking of Bernie Sanders. That is one of the worst days in my life. That's too strong. But that was a painful thing to watch. It's fucking painful. They laughed at us. They laughed. I get a sick thrill when Hillary Clinton lost that election. I got a sick thrill. I didn't want to see Donald Trump in that office. But man, it felt good to see her lose. And part of that dealt with the things that took place in the party itself. You have millions of people just like me who have a sick thrill of seeing that party lose and fail for the things that party has done. You can't win campaigns that way. Like, you can't win campaigns when you have people who are supposed to be on your side, or at the very least near your side, antagonistic towards you and your aims. That is a bad place to be. That is a bad place to be. Now, this is slightly deviating from Sanders, but let's get back to the point. Am I wrong on this? That Sanders woke people up? Am I wrong that all of the issues, or many of the issues that you yourself were pushing for, this idea of healthcare, college, all this stuff was off the table, never even talked about? That this stuff is now at the very least talked about. It's on the table. Many of these guys feel like they don't necessarily have a choice. They feel this idea of Medicare for all is a litmus test, because it is a litmus test. They feel college thing is now on the table. I'm just saying, all of these things weren't even up for discussion before. Is that true or false? The answer to that question is true. How do you think you got there? How do you think you got there? The answer is also Bernie Sanders. Bernie was lying to his supporters. That's you got to be more specific. Orange hair under Jamal's hat, not so much. Bob Romero said, Dr. Jacobson, we don't know what would have happened if Bernie said, Porters, I'm glad it was Clinton who lost. Bernie's message was all I care about, and it's been getting a lot of airtime now. Dr. Jacobson, yes, I agree. I agree. Scorpion 32, that is why progressives should infiltrate both Republicans and Democrats. That I agree with. I kind of made this joke before to say that the Green Party should meet in the shadows and tattoo themselves so they full well understand their mission, and they should infiltrate the Democratic Party all throughout the United States and push to get ranked choice voting in, pushing one progressive cause after the next to take over that party and cannibalize that party. I agree. I agree. Totally agree. I thought Jamarl was a Ted Cruz man. He's getting paid to support Trump with nude pics of Ivanka. What? What? Tabitha Enriquez. John, his plan didn't work. If he got in to move Hillary Clinton and Democrats to the left, they didn't. Well, wait a minute. We don't know that yet. Like, we don't know that. Be fair. We don't know that. So this idea to move Democrats to the left, they have moved to the left. Whether you realize it or not, Medicare for All is a litmus test. You understand, when Obama ran in 2008, they wouldn't even talk about this thing of Medicare for All wasn't even on the table. Like, that wasn't even talked about. Oh, that's a non-starter. Public option was the best that you could talk about, and as soon as he got in office, fuck that public option. You're having Democrats sign up left and right for Medicare for All. It's small. It's not a huge amount, but as a flat fact, that is moving to the left. It's moving to the left. Just saying. What is so hard about letting go of Sanders? Clinging to a liar only hurts both of you. Squall. It's not about letting go or holding on. That's what you guys are mistaking argument for as clinging to. Those things are different. Those things are different. You may think I'm parsing this, but I'm not. If I say Donald Trump got rid of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that is a flat fact. That's a flat fact. Doesn't matter how I feel about Donald Trump. That's a flat fact. If I said that Hillary Clinton, when she ran that election, for the most part, let me say it this way. If I say that there was a Uranium One deal, and at the end of that deal, Bill Clinton got a bunch of money, and the Clinton Foundation got a bunch of money, that is a flat fact. Doesn't matter how I feel about the people involved. The actions, the events, were things that took place in real time. How I feel about Sanders is irrelevant. How I feel about the Democratic Party is irrelevant. The argument that I'm making here is just flat fact. I'm trying to make this point that your society has changed fundamentally based upon this guy. That's all I'm saying. Now, you can say I'm being overly generous to saying it's fair enough, but attack the argument. Saying I'm, trying to hold on or letting go is besides the point. I'm not trying to do either. A moody Arizona soapbox. So many Hillary Clinton fans claim that those who supported Bernie are not real Democrats. At this point, that is a compliment. That is a compliment. I'm not a Democrat. That's a compliment. That is a compliment to me. I remember when Joe Manchin was like, Bernie Sanders is not a real Democrat. That's why they liked him. That's why they liked him. You're acting as if having a D beside your name is some kind of attribute. You've lost everything. Your party has failed on a massive fucking level and put maniacs in this office. And after losing the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the presidency, 66 of 99 legislatures, over 1,000 seats all throughout the United States, after losing to that degree, that's a massive scale of loss. After losing to that degree, Tom Perez gets in and says we need to shed these Bernie-crats out. If you didn't support me, or if you weren't supporting Hillary Clinton, I'm taking your ass out of office and I'm putting in Clintonites and lobbyists. Progressives can go fuck yourselves. This is the DNC. We're going to stay this way. They double down. They double down. You can almost even say they're trying to make a point. Fair enough. I'm not a Democrat. I would imagine that progressives don't consider themselves Democrats. I would imagine, at least from what I've understood, having a D beside your name is not an admirable trait. In fact, many of these candidates are finding that having a D beside their name is a drag on their polls. Think about that. That's embarrassing. Like when these guys are running as a Democrat, and it's like, yeah, I can't vote for a Democrat. You have some progressive candidates. Brand new Congress. I remember having a conversation with a woman, and she's like, we're not Democrats. We're just running under the label. It's amazing. That's not a compliment. You can't disagree. He brought change, but that has nothing to do with supporting him now. What is your specific thesis here? That's my specific thesis. That the case for Sanders in this case is that your society has fundamentally changed in regards to the way politics is done. There's been a sea change in regards to the conversation that's taken place. That's Sanders. The guy who brought you that is Sanders. You can dislike some of the things he did, fair enough, but at the very least acknowledge that point. The case that I make for Sanders is that your society has changed to some degree. You don't necessarily see it yet, but the underlying components of that particular society in regards to the way people are thinking about politics, the way they're thinking about the left. The problem is there is no vehicle to express that sentiment. The Democratic Party is not that vehicle. And so you're in this kind of limbo of, yes, this energy is out there, but what takes place in regards to getting this energy moving? My thesis is the person who at the very least got you there to the table is Bernie Sanders. That's my thesis. You can make an argument that his point of trying to push the conversation to the left was accomplished. He didn't become president. He did bad things, at least from my standpoint, my opinion. But again, that's a different conversation in regards to is what I'm saying true? And what I'm saying is true. To be honest, the same thing could be said for Trump. As far as fundamental change goes, not speaking in terms of better or worse. Yapo yappa. Yes, kind of, but more in a tonal way. Like Donald Trump is just a Republican. Let's be honest, he's just a Republican. The difference between Trump and the other Republicans is his tone. He says things so over the top and so belligerent. Other Republicans know to shut the fuck up, to not necessarily reveal the way they actually are. Trump doesn't necessarily know that. You can say that is a tonal change, but I don't necessarily think that's a sea change in the way people view politics, if that makes sense. Bernie is incremental change now. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I mean, you can say Medicare for all is incremental. I would say, I think people have short memories. Let me put it that way. I would say, think back to 2008. And think back to what you were feeling during the primaries in 2016. I would say that is a fundamentally different thing. I would say that what you're so angry about, or what people are pissed off about, is the drop between what they were feeling versus feeling let down. Meaning, oh my God, this guy is doing this guy's, the vision of this guy of the country and everything else, and then feeling the drop of support Hillary Clinton. The difference between those two things is massive. Because the difference between those two things is massive, there's a massive drop in the emotional, I felt this way, now I feel this way. What you feel, it's a feeling thing. I get it. Until I understand it, I felt the same way in a sense. I have videos where I'm rarely get Sanders for one thing or the next. If Sanders was just a standard politician, I would argue you probably wouldn't feel anything. It's the fact that you felt something in the first place. Who's creating the most change, Bernie or Trump? Trump is president of the United States. Bernie Sanders is just a senator. I guess it would be Trump. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Forsaken Companion. I'm withdrawing my funding for Space Apes Garden. Good day, sir. You're withdrawing your funding for Space Apes. John Wolf. Did Bernie vote for the extra $100 billion for defense? That's a good question. I don't think he did. That's a good question. Somebody look that up. I don't know. Progressives should be smart enough to manipulate dumb Republican base to support progressive change. Patriotic public ownership. So, yes and no. Progressives have this problem of believing that the argument itself is enough to win the day. Meaning, my position is fundamentally morally correct, so you should understand my position. The environment is collapsing around you. You should understand the fact that the environment is collapsing around you. You want to do something about it. That doesn't win. That doesn't move people at all. Unless somebody's actually paying attention to it, they don't care. It's just the way people are. Now, you can get them to care. You have to argue or change your argument into a way that seems somewhat manipulative, but that's what you would need to do. You need to cater to Republican self-interest, because that's all Republicans care about, their own self-interest. The argument, and part of the reason why I love these assumed positions, that's what I'm going to call it, assumed positions. You can take whatever argument you want. Like, politics, believe it or not, people like to believe that politicians, when they get up there, they're arguing some kind of guttural position. I believe this as a man, so I must say this. They're just arguing a position. They have something that they want. They come up with a position in order to make the case for something that they want. It's not this guttural thing in them that drives them. Progressives, however, it's guttural. It's in them. It's the world should be this way. So they just kind of assume that other people take the same way. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. If you want to make an argument for the green energy revolution, you don't make the argument about green energy revolution. You make the argument for this thing of, we're going to lower your electric bill. We're going to put in XYZ that gives you money back. We're going to put solar panels on your houses so you don't necessarily have to pay electric bill. And ultimately, we're going to, this type of thing. You frame the argument in a way that's affecting the individuals in a brass tacks way. Progressives don't do that. We don't do that. You can give Republican votes. You just have to target it in that way, particular way. Let's see. Dems and Republicans will never get my support. The structure is rotten. They can't agree. You had to be there, Jamarl. Forsaken companion. Dax Zero. I give 0 fucks what Republicans think. Agreed. People ask me, it's like, why don't you attack Republicans as much? I do attack Republicans, but ultimately, I don't care what they think. I don't think Republicans can get elected. They're batshit crazy. The Democrats have moved so far to the right that they just continue to move to the right. Like, think of it from the standpoint of when Democrats shifted to the right, it wasn't like Republicans just said, oh, we all agree now. They just moved further to the right. Oh, what more can we get out of this? You've moved to our 40-yard line, to your own 40-yard line. Yeah, we're going to move further. I don't care what Republicans think. They don't support my interests. There's no situation where they support my interests. So yeah, I don't care what they think. The issue that I like to deal with is this issues revolving the left. Any society that you're going to get that's going to be beneficial to the people of that particular society is going to come from the left. Party is not suited to deal with that. That's all. That's my point. Bernie didn't vote for the extra $100 billion of defense. Mido, thank you for doing that fact check. A moody Arizona soapbox. Damn it, space apes made me think of the terrible space monkeys from Firefly. That's funny. I love the geeks I have on my channel. That's awesome. Fucking geeks. Geeks rule. Forsaken companion. He was one of the handful who voted against it. Good. Rob Illinois. Bernie now more than ever made me believe more than ever how important breasts are because they feed people. Damn it. What? I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. Terry J123. No, he did not. Okay, she's saying he didn't vote for the thing. No, he didn't. Good. Scorpion32. In the UK, we managed to manipulate dumb right-wingers to support nationalized utilities and free healthcare. Figure it out, guys. You misunderstand the left in this country. What I mean is you have a Democratic Party who's fundamentally to the right. They call themselves to the left just because the Republican Party is so batshit crazy. It's this kind of thing where Bernie Sanders calling himself a socialist. It's just a Democrat. It's just the Democrats that move so far to the right, they don't look like what they used to be. If you had a party that was honest and earnest in the things that they wanted to get accomplished, yes, you can make those arguments. Progressives right now are trying to cannibalize the Democratic Party. They are tearing and scratching at them as much as they can. And yes, we're being purged and everything else. And I still make the point that if Democrats, progressive, leftists, people who are complicit in some way in voting for the Democratic Party, then you're complicit in the problems with the party. Your response, before anything else, before making any other decision on action, your response to the behavior of the Democratic Party should be, no, you're not getting our votes. You're going to lose. If we need to walk through the fire of having Republicans in office, and we walk through the fires of having Republicans in office. We have the worst case scenario right now. This country is going to hit a rock. Because this country is going to hit a rock. Are we going to hit it at 6 miles per hour with a Democrat or 90 miles per hour with a Republican? Or do I want to break the goddamn car down in the first place if that means destroying the Democratic Party and turning it into something that's actually workable? If that means they need to lose, then they need to lose. I know of no strategy where you're supporting a particular party that's not representing your interests, and the party is going to magically start representing your interests. You're paying them. You're giving them your vote. You're saying, here's my vote. And they're saying, thank you for the vote. But you're only giving us this vote because we're not the batshit crazy Republican Party. But understand that gives whoever you're giving that vote to a free pass to do whatever they want in that office. Hillary Clinton wins in 2020, or it wins in 2016. She passes, she privatizes Social Security. There were people in her camp that wanted to do it. She privatizes Social Security. She puts a missile defense shield in Syria, in which case she shoots down a Russian jet and creates this high-tense situation with Russia, meaning a threat of a nuclear attack with Russia. Including that, she reworks the Trans-Pacific Partnership, comes out saying, hey, it's okay now, guys, I reworked it. And she passes that also. And a tax cut. 2020 comes up. She runs against Ted Cruz. Are you going to let her fail this time? Now, the argument beforehand was, we got to vote for Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump is a fucking maniac. And you have to get her to win, and then you can try to push her to the left after you get her in office. But why? Why would she care what you say to her once she's in office? She knows there's going to be a maniac waiting for her in 2020. She knows that the same argument that played beforehand with Donald Trump being a maniac is going to be the same argument that plays with the religious theocrat maniac who's going to be running against her the next time. What leverage do you have when your fear is, for the most part, binding you to a particular politician? You're not voting for her because you love her. You're voting for her because you're terrified of the other guy. While at the same token, she can do whatever she wants in that office. She has a free pass. Your only power in this, at least right off the bat, before you make a decision to do anything else, is to say no. To be obstinate. To be a malcontent. To say, no, I want no parts of this. You're not going to win in the way that you're going right now. At the very least, you're not going to win with my votes. I'm not going to be complicit in this particular behavior. If something is going to positive to take place with regards to the left, that party needs to be changed. Fundamentally reworked and changed. That means it needs to start with this fundamental basis of no. You're not getting our vote. Until they full well understand that, nothing changes. TYT can bitch and moan all he wants. At the end of the day, TYT still votes for the Democrat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And yes, I know I'm making this argument for Sanders in this case. And I'm bitching in the sense of saying, well, and yes, Sanders turned around and voted for Hillary Clinton. Fair enough. I'm just making the point that the standards of the politician is a little bit different than the standards of the people who are outside in the public, who are making the choice on who to vote for who, in that type of way. And it says, as a citizen who cares about the world and the environment and the people in this particular country, your response in the beginning needs to be no. You figure the shit out at some point, but the response initially is no. Nothing takes place as long as they have your vote as this kind of perfunctory thing. So, Bernie is a parent who drives his children to the entrance of Disneyland. Uh-oh, this is going to be bad. Bernie Sanders is the right age for 2020. He has needed the experience and wisdom. Mito, I think he's going to run in 2020. Providing everything else, health and everything else okay, he's going to have some age on him. But he did not want Joe Biden to run. That's what the reports were saying, that he felt that it was his turn. I know that sounds funny, right? Those is his turn. But he felt he's earned it. The way he's turned the party and everything else. And this is what I would tell you. It would be a fucking civil war. You thought 2016 was bad. 2020 would be monstrous. 2020 is going to be monstrous. Because whoever wins is going to win. Now, it depends on the Democrat. If they put up just some milquetoast Democrat, then no. Or probably not. But if you're getting somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders, you're going to fundamentally change the party. Now, that's assuming that Sanders rules that bully pulpit in the way that he does when he's on the campaign trail. Meaning going after particular specific politicians being Democrat or Republican when they don't necessarily toe his line. That means not necessarily stopping his campaign, going from state to state to state, having rally after rally after rally. Even though he's president, still running as if he's in campaign mode, bashing and using the bully pulpit to go after one particular politician after the next. They look at politics as if it's static, as if nothing changes. As if the way the political map and everything else is shaped up now is the way it would be eternally, so they build their politics on it. That's insanity. That's insanity. Bernie Sanders understands that you can expand the playing field. And what I mean by that is, if you're going from place to place to place, and you're not in this with this idea of the interests of the plutocrats, the interests of the elites in that sense, you have a fundamentally different governing strategy. Like, how you got into that office was based on people giving you profits and money. In the same way that the people in power now do the bidding of the people who put them in office, I would imagine that Bernie Sanders is going to be represent the people who put him in that office. He has to. He doesn't have a choice. When he runs in 2020 or the very next election, it's going to be a referendum on him, what he was trying to accomplish and the things he was trying to do. And he's not going to get money from big ticket donors. He's going to have to get money from the same people who gave him money the first time around. You have a fundamentally different government at that point. That's all. Now, granted, he has to use a bully pulpit because he's not necessarily going to get people on his side. It's going to be just like FDR, where FDR was trying to get these Democrats out of office because they went to his strategy, or went to his line. But it's a difference. That's all I'm saying. It's a difference. It is a difference. Be honest. Bernie being an independent is just a tantrum that the Democrats won't listen to, and at this point, a stunt. I fundamentally disagree. Have you had multiple Democrats rally behind Medicare for all? The answer is yes, including people who are quote-unquote presidential hopefuls. All of them, they look at it as a litmus test. Why do you believe that they look at it as a litmus test? Why do you believe that that's a stunt? You honestly believe the Democrats are going to come out wide open mouth with Medicare for all, making a big deal about it, but then they're going to turn around and say, okay, we're not doing that. Politically, I don't think it's feasible. That's all. Politicians are shameless. That's true. But I am not sure if it's politically feasible to come out wide open in that way and then turn around and say, okay, I'm not doing it. They were pushed. They were pushed. Like, what I mean by that is, politically, they felt they needed to move in that direction. That's not a stunt. It's not a stunt. Bernie will be 78. Yep, he has a little age on him. The Democrats are so weakened, they try to shove Kamala Harris down our throats. Obama 2.0. I would be surprised if they don't, as long as she doesn't make any mistakes in the next few years. She's not getting my vote. She's not getting my vote. They can try to shove her down our throats all they want. Crap. My signal is fading. There we go. Let's back up. Yeah, she's not getting my vote. Screw that. It's going to be a progressive or nobody. A moody Arizona soapbox. If Trump wins in 2020, which country will be scapegoated then? Oh, man. Oh, that's embarrassing. That would be so embarrassing. This is what I would say. And look, I would bring somebody on the show to have this debate with me about this kind of scorched earth policy. I don't know who it would be, but whatever. I'm open to it. I guess it would be a Sam Cedar thing, if that case. But every loss that a Democrat takes, every loss, it creates louder questions of, whoa, you guys are failing at a massive fucking level against maniacs. Where's your legitimacy? That question gets louder and louder each loss. Where is your claim to legitimacy? How are you the adults in the room? Are you purely propped up just because you have this kind of money backing you? And if that's the only legitimacy that you claim, is that we're paid for by the plutocrats, is that legitimacy at all? Failure is problematic. The Virginia election that's coming up, if they fail in this election, that is going to be immensely problematic. And those questions will start getting louder. Should you guys be the adults in the room? Are you guys the adults in the room when you fail this much? How do you fail this much and still try to cling to power in this way? How do you lose a presidential election, pretend as if everybody is united when 15 million people are streaming out of your burning boat of a party, and you're claiming still legitimacy? You have a unity commission. And then when people kind of turn their heads, you start purging people who didn't support your corporatist agenda. That's the Democratic Party. Now, you going and voting for that party after doing all that is saying, I'm okay with what this party is doing. I understand that Republicans are batshit crazy. And I gotta be honest, I look at this from a long-term perspective because I gotta be honest, a short-term perspective is terrifying to me. By the same token, I understand that you have to walk through a certain amount of fire to get things to change. At the very least, the starting point is no. The starting point is no. All right, what's going on in this conversation? Biden will be 77 years old. Terry, yes, Trudy. What did Trudy say? Age is just a number. Bernie is young. Age is just a number to a degree. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it depends on whether or not he's up for it. That's all that matters. Biden will be 77 years old. Yes, Trudy. Terry. Forsaken Companion. Trudy, the show has been on James' channel lately. What is Gardner saying? My point is donating to him during the primary is pointless. They would rather have Trump again than a populist. I don't think so. Oh, you talking about Democrats? Maybe. I've heard of the argument that they would have preferred a Republican win than Bernie Sanders win, because Bernie Sanders fundamentally destroys their party. Like, whether you realize, so the reason why I say 2020 be a war, if they lose in 2020, meaning if the Democratic Party loses, meaning the corporatists, whoever they put up as a corporatist, loses to somebody like Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders, it destroys the party in this way. They lose their legitimacy. Bernie Sanders is going to put up the head of the DNC in that case, or whoever that particular person is. And I guarantee you they're going to go through the process of reworking all of it. Like it's going to be a fundamental change to that party. At least that's my thought. I think I could be wrong on this, but I would imagine if it was me, I would campaign vociferously for certain policies, and I would browbeat one Democrat after the next, name by name by name by name, that don't toe that line. I would be in Republican districts. I wouldn't necessarily assume that just because it's a Republican district that it's their district. I would go into places for independents. I would try to rally Walmart workers, fast food workers, all this stuff. I would still be on strike lines. You would be president of the United States, but at the very least, you would be the people's president. And I guarantee you would change the dynamic of politics in this country. You just need somebody to be a lightning rod. That's my case for Sanders, man. I just don't have this. People took this dark persona of he forsaken us and it was a scam and everything else. And it was like these dark statements, assuming certain things about the person's motives without actually just looking at the honest thing of what would a person do, what are the forces acting on the individual who's in that situation, and if you were in that situation, would you have done something different? It's like you expect super integrity from somebody else that you don't necessarily expect for yourself. Stop using Motel 6 Wi-Fi, Jamarl. You're too cheap. It's not Wi-Fi. It's not Motel 6. I'm in the boonies, and because I'm in the boonies, sometimes my Wi-Fi drops in and out. For the amount that we pay for Wi-Fi, believe it or not, this is the second to the highest speed, and we pay a ridiculous amount of money for Wi-Fi, and it drops out in a heartbeat. It's aggravating. It's absolutely aggravating. I started cackling when I was trying to read a transcript from Northam's and mention a Washington Post article. It was so hokey. They also quoted a tweet from Trump that was an eyebrow raiser. Video game quests. I think the best strategy for revolution would be to reach out to the millions of people who didn't vote at all, rather than the people who sucked into the Republican Democrat drama. Agreed. And that's kind of my point. Agreed. Jenny Lynn. Yes, it's been too long since Jamarl came by AG. What's AG? AG. I don't know what AG is. Spell it out, Jenny. AG. I keep thinking Attorney General. I know it's not Attorney General. It's completely illegal to shut Bernie out again. It doesn't matter what Sanders' intentions are. If you donate to Sanders, it will go to the DNC. and period, and that person would not be Sanders. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. Uncle Ron, sweetie, I had a kidney stone the size of a marble. Oh, that's sexy. Gardenome, that is incorrect. Yes, that's what I was saying too. Yes, Terry J, thank you. John Wolf, will people donate to Bernie since the DNC stole the money? I don't know what the stealing money stuff is. Zox Avox, what Warren did at DAPL is what Bernie did to the DNC lawsuit. Oh, okay, fair enough. It's just he wasn't going that route, man. Yeah, I've joked that was his bastardized child. He even has his last names like Draft Sanders. Bernie Sanders' last name. It's like, what's his name? Running around the country. He's like, why won't you accept your baby? Why don't you accept your baby? Look at it. Oh, after version, you're talking about the lawsuit. Yeah, agreed. Kind of agree. I felt some kind of way. I wished Elizabeth Warren came out for DAPL after the fact. She plays politics, and I don't like the fact that she plays politics. What do you believe in? Just tell. What do you believe in? What's so difficult about just saying I believe in X? I believe in X. I put my stake in the ground in X. If they're beating the shit out of Native Americans, I want to get involved in that because they're beating the shit out of Native Americans. I'm going to lend my voice to it. Don't lend your voice to it after. It looks horrible. You might as well just not say anything. It's like Obama comes out and she says, okay, yeah. I'm putting out a statement. Beating the shit out of Native Americans. Obama is out there cutting up a turkey while at the exact same time actual indigenous people in this country is getting their ass kicked by cops who are paid by oil police, essentially oil police. Yeah, that was gross. It was immensely gross. Yappa, cheat me once, shame on you. Cheat, you're not gonna cheat me a second time. AG is the Ebon show. Ah, okay. Are you stuck with the crapcast for internet? We pay through the nose for this shoddy service. We have, it's not Comcast, it's the other one. We have the other one. Oh, anything goes. Thank you for saying companion. Anything goes. Let's see. Gardenome, you would have Beck on you, yet you don't understand what the fraud was about. Scorpion 32, Bernie Sanders will not run in 2020. They have leverage over him, as WikiLeaks shows. WikiLeaks, I don't know what that leverage is. And it seems like he is priming to run for 2020. It seems like he's priming to run for 2020. Now, when they say leverage, they're never specific about what that means. So I don't know what that means. Lorms. The word on the street is that Scalise wants to make water protectors a terrorist organization. I heard about that. I did hear about that. And Moody Arizona Soapbox. The silence from so many when he came to DAPL is just pathetic. Yeah. My wife and I, you know, it's funny how you invest yourself in certain things that go on. And it's their land. Like it's this thing of this country has done so many horrible things to Native Americans. And they would say, hey, Thanksgiving, they would say kumbaya, they would say, oh, we're sorry for doing this to the Native Americans, we're sorry they're doing this for blacks and everything else. 2016, 2015, they're stealing land from Native Americans. And they're beating the shit out of those Native Americans when those Native Americans balk at the fact that they're stealing the land. The first black president of the United States is mom. His mom. Bernie Sanders said something, he came out. But many of the Congress was mum. Pretended as if it didn't exist. The media was mum. Pretended as if it didn't exist. These people are getting their heads bashed in. All of these people setting up camps, trying to keep and protest to maintain their land. And the people who were supposed to represent them was mum. It's kind of my point, man. Why are you representing people or voting for people who don't represent your interests? That's what I mean, man. That's what I mean. Scorpio 32, that is the gist of the leverage over Bernie. I didn't see it. Was watching infamous Trump dossier funded by Clinton. DNC, great stuff. It was great stuff. Oh, thank you. Scorpio 32, what is the gist of the leverage over Bernie? We'll all be considered terrorists soon enough. Jen, if you do something that is against what the government wants, you are by definition a terrorist. What I mean is, there is no real definition of terrorist. Like, terrorist is just perspective, is relative. That particular guy is a freedom fighter, that particular guy is a terrorist, both of those things are true. The government or that particular power itself has said, hey, those people are doing something that's against our self-interest. They're a terrorist organization. Now, the same token, these people are saying that foreign power is in our country and is murdering our people. Perspectives. Perspectives. He better run as a third party. I don't think he can bring himself to vote for Democrat ever again. I don't think he's going to run as a third party. I don't think so. You send us a link. The link is longer than just telling us. Missing that one. Everyone is a terrorist unless they fall in line with the government propaganda these days. People did speak up when the shit was going down, but the media silenced dissenters. 9/11 media era. Zox Abox. The media is ridiculous. What goes on? The Washington Post says democracy dies in the darkness. Democracy dies in broad daylight on the pages of the Washington Post. These guys put out particular perspectives and narratives and everything else. And oftentimes these things, there may be truth in it, but the context and reality is shaped in a way to give you a particular perspective that may not necessarily be the best perspective of the world. Think of the Iraq war thing. Think of how obsequious they are to military actions. Think of the way the media was fawning over Trump, called him every name but a child of God. But when he launched illegal missile strike into Syria, they were on board. They were on board. They loved it. This is the first time Donald Trump has seen presidential when he's murdering people abroad. It's fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. YouTubers fleeing to other platforms as well. Yeah, I've looked at that myself. Democratic Party equals Wall Street Party. Yes, that's true. Well, both parties are. Both. It's not one or the other. Like, that's the wild part. Just because I may talk about one doesn't necessarily mean it adds any gleam to the other. It's just I think the other one is so fucking ridiculous that there is nothing to be done for that particular party. That's all. I don't expect anything from it. The leftist vehicle in this country is supposed to be the Democratic Party, meaning I have certain responsibility or I have certain expectations. Let me put it that way. If I vote for them, I expect certain things. Up to this point, those things haven't been found out, so I no longer vote for the party. I vote for individual people depending on whether or not I think they represent my interests. And up to this point, I've seen none to do so, at least not in my state. Vermont Breadsmith. Good evening. Good evening, Vermont Breadsmith. Dax Jacobson. Bernie is not stupid. He will run in the United States as a third party if he wants more than 5% of the vote. He will not run. Yeah, that's true. I don't think he will. Caitlin just did a piece on the Times. Oh, I'll check her out. I like her writing. John Wolf. I don't expect anything from the Democratic Party after the past 40 years. Neither do I. That party needs to be broken. It needs to be broken. It's like Bane broke the back of Batman. You know what I mean? That iconic image that needs to be the Democratic Party. Bex. I don't know if I could bring myself to re-register back to the Democratic Party to vote in the primaries. I don't think I deregistered myself, but I haven't voted in any of this stuff. Garden Gnome. GOP in the current state possess less of a threat to populism than the DNC. Yeah, I agree. Like, there's right-wing populism is terrifying. It's fucking maniacs. So, but what they're considering populism, I don't know what they consider to be populism in this way. I know nationalistic stuff, meaning, you know, cutting down on the trade deals and everything else. Yes, he's going to give himself more tax cuts. Yes, he's going to fuck over the EPA and all this other stuff. He's going to do right-wing stuff. But that stuff any Republican would have done. Didn't matter. Any Republican would have did those things. They're nuts. But part of the reason they're nuts is because the Democrats have moved so far to the right that it made it look like what the Republicans' position is. It's sane. It's not sane. It's just sane by virtue of two parties. This party expresses something, the public looks at it and says, well, the party's expressing it. It must be okay. The news backs it up. It must be okay. It must be sane. It must be natural and normal. It's not. It's not. It's just relative distance between the two parties. They just so happen to be both to the left. Democrats' scam up to this point was, we're sane. We're not going to do anything for you, but we're sane. The public has found that to be wanting. It found it to be wanting. Catherine, I'll join you, Tree. Angeli, really, how do you feel about the freedom of speech on Twitter and Facebook where they're regulating everything that people's doing. Say, yeah, that's a problem. Like, part of that is the Democrats screaming at the top of their lungs about Russia and Facebook and all this other stuff. Look, people need to flee to other platforms, and I suspect that's why they are fleeing other platforms, for this idea of freedom of speech and everything else. You know, Facebook and Google was altering their algorithms during the election to hide certain information that was disadvantageous to Hillary Clinton. You have a company that's Democrats. They vote Democrat. They're Hillbots. They're using the technology to essentially go with a particular perspective. That is horrific. That is horrific. If there was a right-wing site, or if there was a Republican running that site, and they turned the site to give certain propaganda, oh, people would have been pissed. They would have been pissed. You would need leverage by having another site. YouTube and Facebook are going to behave the way they behave because they believe they can get away with it, just like anybody else. The Democratic Party is going to behave the way they behave because they don't believe there's going to be consequences for their behavior. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with Facebook. They only change when you adversely affect their business model, meaning people fleeing away to other platforms. Yeah, I don't like this, the killing of speech thing. I hate that. I hate it. The fact that people are now gushing over Bush is appalling, and saying that he's a better president than Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? With that mess, he lied us into a war that left thousands dead. Moody Arizona soapbox, it wasn't thousands, it was millions. It was 1 million people he killed. There was 1 million people that died in that Iraq war. Not talking about the people in other countries where those people went flooding into after Bush destroyed their country, smashed it to smithereens. Not talking about Afghanistan or Pakistan or Somalia or Niger or 70% of the globe that the United States is in. Amazing. George Bush. George fucking Bush. He's out there finger painting. Guy's a fucking idiot. Put us into a war, openly talking about torturing people. And when Obama took office, he said, we're looking forward. We're not looking back. And I'm going to hide the torture reports for X number of years because I don't want the public to see what George Bush was doing in the name of the American population. Amazing that they're using him. Again, why are you voting for him when they're behaving in this way? Why are you voting for him? It's easier for the DNC to scorch populism from the inside than the GOP. Agreed, Gardner. Agree. S'mores for everyone. Try the positive. Oh, thank you. I love s'mores. Actually, I don't like s'mores. My wife does. John Wolf. How many people did Obama murder? Obama murdered thousands. You remember, this was the president with the kill list. You know, that guy. Get that guy. Get that guy. Thousands. 90% of the people that were being hit no strikes were civilians. They had no idea who they were hitting. Obama had this policy that if you were 16 years or older and you were in a terrorist region, you were fair game. So then he would go to the public and say, hey, it's not that many people that we murdered that were civilians. All of them should be dragged before the Hague. All of them. If this was an African dictator in some country, they would have dragged his ass in front of the Hague. They would have dragged him in front of the Hague, each and every one of them. Lorms should make it one name, Bush Cheney. Yes. Dax Jacobson. If Hitler had not died and had did good PR, he would be more popular today. If he would have won the war, yes. If he would have won the war, they would have just put it behind him and say, hey, this was a bad period in Germany's life, etc., etc., etc. There would have been no consequence. Consequence is only for the losers. Bob Romero said, Bush to deal with Bill tried to and failed. MJ Wing. So nobody thinks the third party can win. Not right off the bat, no. Not on the presidential level, no. It depends on whether or not you can get... Look, here's the problem. Let's be honest. Here's the problem. I love third parties. Like, I am not in this camp of saying I hate third parties. Love third parties. I think all cylinders should be explored in regards to trying to kind of topple the way things are. So let me put that in a point. And again, I voted for Jill Stein because I wanted, that's who represented my interests more than anybody else. That point. You've heard me sometimes say that people are robots. Now, that's derogatory, and I shouldn't say it that way. I say it only in that way to be descriptive. The public itself has been given this idea that there are only two parties in this country, Democrat and Republican. Now, beyond that, the media, for the most part, jumps on this and enforces that there are only two parties in this country. Anything beyond the scope of those two parties is fringe. It's beyond the scope. It's beyond the pale. Part of the reason why I'm making this argument about Sanders is because it breaks that model. It gets across that the Democrats are not the definitive left. They're not left at all. This is what somebody on the left actually looks like. Here it is, prime center stage. Now, you can't be mad at people when from the time that they're kids to the time that they, leave this game space, that they've been told that there were only two parties. You have the best country in the world. Your military does things for the right reasons. Cops are law enforcement. They're there to help you. All of these lies that they're told over the course of their life. You have two parties. This is a range of debate. America is the greatest country on the planet, etc., etc., etc. Choose your programming. With regards to politics, third parties has to overcome that programming. You have to overcome it. This is a secondary thing. The reward system. Like, what I mean is, I go in and I vote for somebody. Now, when I'm making that vote, I'm hoping that my vote is actually going to count for that particular person to win. If I don't think my vote is going to count for that particular person to win, I'm going to think to myself, I am not part of the winning process. Meaning, who do I hate least? If I don't think that person has a chance of winning, am I throwing my vote away when I vote for that person? The person's not crazy for making that logical deduction. They think to themselves, who do I hate the least? If I don't have a chance for getting my person in that office, who do I hate the least? And so in their minds, they think to themselves, okay, I guess I have to vote for this person. I don't necessarily like them, but at least I have to vote for them. They're least worse. This is what operates on the individual, and the individual is not necessarily crazy for operating in this way. It's just logical deduction in some way. If you need to change that, you need to change the way the voting thing is so that person is not penalized for voting for the person that he wants. Right now, our system penalizes people for voting for who they want if that particular person is not one of the forerunners. So say you have ranked choice voting. I vote for Jill Stein. Jill Stein doesn't necessarily win, so they move my vote over into the next person. Whether Jill Stein wins at this point is kind of besides the point. People are free to make the vote that they want. Meaning Jill Stein may get 20, 30% of the vote just because people are saying, I'm going to vote for Jill Stein. I'm not penalized for voting for a third party. If you want to get third parties, you need something like that. You need to stop having people being penalized for that particular vote. You're asking people for too much. To ask a person to say, hey, I need you to vote for a third party and I need you to, ignore these two parties. You're asking too much. You're asking them to go against their own self-interest. You need to attack the system itself. So. Catherine, try my best to convince others to vote for Jill. I failed, obviously, but I'm still proud of how I voted. Same here. Same here. Bob Ramirez, Hillary thanks you. J. Scott, do Jill Stein voters get special magical powers to keep health care? No, Jay, they don't. They don't. They lose health care like everybody else. LOL Bob. John Wolf, I voted green for the future. Agreed, John Wolf. For the sake of, I love that. I voted green for the future. For the future. I love it. Forsaken Companion. I don't care for Jill Stein. Fair enough. Fair enough. Everybody doesn't care for everybody. Jenny Lynn. Hey, hubby. I don't know who hubby is. Moody Arizona Soapbox. Proud Jill Stein voter here too. Same here. Same here. J. Scott. It's called free will. Give it a try. Give it a try. Dax Jacobson being resilient. I love it. Forsaken Companion. After the primaries, Chituli was the only worthwhile candidate. Video game quest. The reason third parties can't win is because of corporate propaganda saying they can't. And because people who still believe in propaganda, that's the best that must be slain. Or that's the beast that must be slain. J. Scott. Dax, I like free will. Jill Stein voters act like they're exempt from Trump. It's not that we're exempt from Trump. No, that's not what it is. I don't think that at all. I think Trump was a terrifying prospect. I just think it was a no-win choice. Like, if Hillary Clinton was in, you're going to have Trump voters saying, see what Hillary Clinton did? Aren't you angry that you voted for Hillary Clinton? It would have went both ways. I saw Anna Kasparian one day. This was months and months ago when she had this meltdown on election night. And she was having a go at Trump voters. I don't respect women who voted for Trump. All this other stuff. You don't know the reasons that they voted for Donald Trump? There were many people who just didn't vote at all, who voted for the people down the ballot and just said, okay, I can't vote for either of these guys. I can't vote for either one. They have reservations and qualms about both. I think Trump is a goddamn maniac. I think Mike Pence is worse. But I think Hillary Clinton could have potentially started a nuclear war. That's what I'm left with. Those are my choices. So who am I going to choose in a situation where all of my choices are bad? I'm going to choose the person who represents my interests. When I go to bed at night, I am perfectly okay with saying, I did not vote for somebody who was going to start a nuclear war. I voted for somebody who was going to try to protect the earth. I'm content with my vote. Infinitely content. I voted Jill over Obama. TYT I now paid for. I no longer watch them. Yeah, I can't watch them either. After the Hillary Clinton thing, they lost me. I had to stop. It's funny. I started back watching TYT after during the primaries for Sanders. I had to stop watching for God knows how long. And then the primaries came up, and they were devout Bernie supporters, and it was awesome. And it was like, oh, everybody was united, everybody was together. And then they were like, vote Hillary. It's like, fuck that. This is where I get off. This is where I get off. If you're going to say we're TYT and we're against the establishment and we're holding back the night and we're going against money in politics and we're this and we're that. Oh, by the way, they cheated my guy, but vote Hillary. Fuck that. Fuck that. This is where I get off. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we're the malcontents, we're the establishment, we're against this, we're against that, we're against money in politics, these guys are bought and paid for, etc., etc., etc. They're cheating Bernie Sanders, this is bullshit. Cenk will come out during the primaries, have these meltdowns because of all these articles and everything else attacking Sanders. All of these people saying, bow your heads and fall in line. He would come out being defiant. We're not going to bow our heads. We're not going to fall in line. We're progressives. And then the breaking of Sanders. Breaking of Bernie Sanders. And they changed their tune. Vote Hillary. Then they're having these things attacking Donald Trump to the exclusion of pretty much everybody else. Vote Hillary. I need you to vote Hillary. Hillary. Vote Hillary. One show after the next. Vote Hillary. Donald Trump is a monster. Vote Hillary. One show after the next. Where is your power if you're so willing to give it away? You have an entire network. I've lost coverage. There we go. Back up. I'm sorry, guys. My internet coverage today is crappy. So I'm gonna... Yeah, my internet coverage is horrid. Alright. So I hope this comes back up. Yeah. So, yeah, you turn your entire show to go for the person who cheated your candidate. Where's your power? Is your power saying, no, we're not okay with this? We may lose, but we're not okay with this. I'm not co-signing what you guys have done. We're the media. We've been looking at you the entire time. I'm not co-signing what took place. Where's your power? Where's your power? And do you give it away when you turn around and say, yes, you cheated. No, I think you're bought. Yes, I think you're, the servants of Wall Street. But we're going to vote for you anyway. Where's your power? Where's your power? So easily given away. Alright, my internet coverage is horrid, so I'm going to end this. I'm probably going to have to restart. You're starting to look like an episode of South Park. Yeah, that's funny. The 100% what Hillary banked on and contrived, in fact. What do you mean your vote for Nader is not on record? Yeah, I voted for Nader too. Jay Scott, wasn't a vote out of fear. I voted for Hillary because I know how politics works. Oh, I do declare you know how politics works. Okay. I don't know what that means, by the way. Catherine, that was my hope, Adam. Garnome, TYT is now just constant pants sweating and fear-mongering over Trump. Yeah. I was like, companion. I do, Jenny. Doesn't mean I follow everything he says blindly, though. You shouldn't follow anything anybody says blindly. And they folded after New fucking York. Grrr. They threw 100,000 people off the roads in New York, in Brooklyn. The commission just came out saying it was illegal to do so. State and federal law. It was illegal. Alright guys, I'm going to end this because my internet is doing weird things. Forsaken Jamarl, come on James, and anything goes offshoot sometimes. Yeah, I will. I'm not against it. I pop in every so often. I need to find the show. The story makes me good goddamn angry. It does to me too. But your vote is private. Yeah, your vote is private, but you know. People tell. Chink literally throws on anti-capitalism over Trump. Why wouldn't there be a record? I mean, let's be fair. He throws on anti-capitalism over both. I mean, it's not just Trump. He throws them over Democrats too. Aw, Snort. Thank you. Happy birthday. It's not my birthday. Oh, it's your birthday, Snort? What do you think will happen when the email scandal? Will it get any traction? I don't know. It seems like Uncle Ron, Jamarl, nice video on the New York Perch. Thank you, Uncle Ron. I don't know. I'm curious to see. I gotta be honest. The what's the thing called? What is it? The uranium thing seems to be getting more traction. Republicans are investigating that now. They reopened an investigation to the uranium window. Go figure. I'm in Ohio and we're infamous for election fraud, just like Florida. I'm not surprised. I'd only be surprised if my votes were counted. You know, there were like hundreds, like 100,000 votes in Wisconsin that weren't properly counted. They were essentially people kicked off the voter rolls. All throughout this country that takes place. Your election is not the envy of the world, regardless of what they tell you. That's just propaganda. I think we're like 30th, like when compared to other nations. It's insanity. Horrid. This stuff. Alright. I'm gonna kill this. Yeah, guys, that's my case for Sanders. My case for Sanders is more so he woke people up. And if anything, whatever you say about him, you have to give him credit for that. You have to give him credit that there were a lot of people who were zombies, who were essentially just falling in line. And for the most part, those people have popped to attention and have energized a certain base. That base may be angry at him, but they have energized that base nonetheless, and those people have become militant. Now, you look at the behavior of Cory Booker and some of these other Democrats who are talking, we're for Medicare for all now. We're for Medicare for all. They weren't for Medicare for all before. That wasn't even on the table. The universal college thing, or the college thing, again, wasn't on the table. All of these things were not on the table before Sanders get in. And you had a lot of people who were completely asleep, who have now popped to attention. Assume for the moment that Sanders is a sheepdog. Assume for the moment that what he did was a scam. Assume for the moment that all of it was a fake populace. Are the issues, are the real world consequences of those things fake? They're not. Those things aren't fake. Those are real world consequences to the behavior that took place in the primaries. Part of that is a change, in the public itself with regards to progressives, and a change in tenor with regards to the way Democrats is looking at these issues because they don't have a choice. There's been a sea changing in politics. Whatever you want to say about Sanders, there has been a sea changing in politics. So, I will leave it at that. I know some people disagree with me. Yeah, I know some people disagree with me, but that's my position. I'm sticking to it until I see further information. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Alright, guys. Thank you all for showing up. I am sorry for the hiccups in the internet. Sometimes it's on point, sometimes it's not. But this video was like an hour 30 minutes. So within the course of an hour 30 minutes, of course, there are going to be certain things. Rand Paul's atrocious. He is atrocious. So is Trey Gowdy. Trey Gowdy is also atrocious. These guys are showboating on Clinton stuff. Look at their policies and the things that they're actually trying to do when they're in that office. The policies that they're pushing and the things that they're voting for. These guys are horrid. Sadly, it only matters if the DSC purges the bad actors. Sadly, they purge the wrong folks. They do purge the wrong folks. Let me say this. I'm going to end on positive. Things look bad. Things look immensely bleak. Republicans have the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, 66 out of 99 legislatures. They have absolute and complete power. They can do whatever they want. Whatever they want. Now, this is not just in federal government. This is all throughout the United States. I can make the case that if Hillary Clinton won the election, for the most part, what you want as a progressive continues to take the back seat in regards to policy and everything else. But now you have a shot. You have the weakest candidate, meaning Donald Trump, the weakest president that you've ever had in that office. The worst fucking president that you would ever have in that office. The man is a goddamn goblin. And even with the House, the Senate, and Supreme Court, he can barely get things done because he's continuously feuding with this person and that person. Now, you have a shot. As progressives, as leftists, whatever you want to call yourselves, you have a chance for something significant. Take your chance. Take your chance. Now, I don't know how. I don't know how that energy gets articulated to hit the political apparatus. I would say, look for opportunities and jump at those opportunities. I would also say that be honest with the fact that you have certain things that are assailing your particular society and the members of your particular society, whether you're talking about social forces or environmental forces, and that in no way does the Democratic Party actually deal with those issues. In no way can they have this conversation about class because they're completely obsequious to the people who are, for the most part, the plutocrats. Both parties are obsequious in this way. That's it. Things are bleakest before they fall apart. Meaning purging all of those people from the DNC looks immensely bad. Now, it looks bad on a few counts. You've lost claim to your legitimacy, even though you're clinging like grim death to some issue of legitimacy. And the question kind of rings louder and louder with each failure. How are you maintaining your control over this political apparatus, meaning over this party? The more they fail, the less claim they have to that office. That also means, however, the more power that Republicans get throughout the country. Those things work in tandem. If you're talking about destroying a party, you are talking about the other party essentially having a certain amount of sway in the destruction of this party. Things are going to look bleak. Things are going to look bad. Yes, they're going to pass their tax cuts. Yes, they're going to have heinous environmental policy and policies across the world. It is the price that you pay to get change. There's no path. There's no other path. If either you believe that the path is through the Democratic Party in the way it is now, or you accept, like me, that there is no path forward through the way this apparatus is. And this apparatus needs to be broken and reformed into something that actually is representative of the public. I would wager that Tom Perez putting those people and getting those people, purging those people in that way, was an act of a desperate man. That's the argument I would make. It's not the act of somebody in strength. That's the act of a desperate man clinging to power because he understands that his claim to legitimacy is tenuous at best. There is going to be a civil war in claiming the Democratic Party. There is a chance that, put it this way, I guess I'm making this point, that the purge is not necessarily indicative of strength. The purge is the opposite. The purge is not indicative of somebody who's strong and confident in their position. It's more of somebody who's saying, I'm getting rid of all these people because I understand my claim to legitimacy is tenuous at best. That's your positive note, that they're falling apart. The world will look bleaker and bleaker the more they fall apart, but understand that at the end of that destruction is something fundamentally different that can actually move your country into a better direction. We are walking through the wilderness. It's not sexy. It's not fun. But there's also no reason to get hung up on each and every batshit crazy thing that the Republicans do. The goal is to win, meaning to take power and control that office and fundamentally change the way politics is done. That's the goal. I don't know the candidates to take you there. I would argue that that's a public thing. That's a person thing. That's a people movement. Now, the worse things get, the more people you would imagine that would get involved in the political process. That's the hope. This is scorched earth. You're accepting the position that you're willing to let things crash for the sake of a better tomorrow. Now, mind you, this is this idea of a better tomorrow. This is not necessarily something that happens overnight or anything else. This is a long-term strategy. But the strategy is ultimately just saying, I don't want to be a part of this process. And if you're going to be a part of this process, meaning if you want me to be a part of this process, you're going to fundamentally change the way you are. Otherwise, you just lose. At some point, you would lose claim to your legitimacy, and something else would take place. That's politics. That's called leverage. Jay said, I just know how politics works. That's why I voted for Hillary Clinton. That's not how politics works. That's you giving your vote away. That's what that is. You're terrified of the other guy, so you give your vote away. Politics works with leverage and force. Leverage and force, meaning the monstrous position of no. The monstrous position of no. I'm going to be obstinate. I'm going to stomp my feet. I'm going to pout my lips. I'm going to fold my arms together. I'm saying no. I don't necessarily have a path forward, but it's not going to be with you. Not in the position that you're in now. It's not sexy. It's not pretty. You know, of course, that has real world consequences. But what are the long-term real-world consequences of the Democratic Party persistently going to the right, taking huge amounts of cash, and shafting you and workers and the poor and everybody else who they're supposed to represent? This diverged slightly from the Bernie thing. And I know I said, you know, it's kind of brighter thing, but the brighter point here is they're clinging to power because their strain on power is tenuous. That's my point. At least that's my position. They need to be torn asunder. How do you get into the apparatus and get your claws into them and rip the skin from their bones? How do you do it? They're surrounding themselves with a fortress of cash. Well, you do it by taking them out their offices. They need to lose. They need to lose. So, forsaken companion, when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and a sweet silver soaring of the lark, be it a substitute angel tea. Oh, that's sexy. I love that. That's sexy. That's sexy. That is sexy. Garno, Jamarl is correct. Jay is mistaken as to how power works. Yeah, that's not how power works. Yeah, giving your vote away is not powerful. That's weak. That's weak. Saying no. Saying no. It's monstrous. It's epic. You know, my wife laughs at me when I say something like this. It's like the epicness of a man saying no. The epicness of a man refusing to go along with something that he dislikes. Othering the Trump voters does nobody any good. That's true. Want to lose bigly forever, yeah. Believe it or not, many of those voters are your voters too. Those voters used to be Democrats. Go figure. Bigly. Bigly. Moody, Arizona soapbox. When Democrats are pro-war and flexible on abortion rights, where does that leave you? Right there, that's my litmus test also, abortion rights. That's a fail for me. If you're not going to stand up for women's rights, you can go fuck yourself. Period. And this has nothing to do with, you know, overcompensating for anything. Their issue with abortion, Republicans, is religious in nature. It's not scientific, it's religious. What is that? Why are you bringing that into the Democratic Party? What is your justification for coming up and telling a woman that she can't necessarily make any choice with her own body? You better have a damn good reason if you're going to do it. What is your justification to do so? If you're bringing God into this conversation, you've lost me. I don't care who you are. Democrat, Republican, if God is coming into this conversation, you've lost your vote. You've lost my vote. Thanks, Tay and Jamal. Jimmy Lynn, we are majority and we have the power as soon as we take it. Terry J 123. I disagree. Okay, what do you disagree with, Terry J? Forsaken. Alienating the average Trump voter is not smart. That's true. Yeah, I shouldn't do it. I know what I do. I call the guy reality shows. Fair enough. I'm guilty of that. None of these guys are on my team, though. Like, if we were in a different country, let's say you were part of the Scottish National Party. Scottish National Party attacks conservatives and leftists and all those other stuff. These guys are antagonistic towards one another. So yes, I'm going to hit Trump. Not necessarily hitting his voters, but I'm hitting Trump. Bob Ramirez, I can't stand Hillary Clinton voters. You think I give a shit about the monsters who vote for Trump? Call them monsters. Moody Arizona soapbox. They keep bashing Bernie for supporting an antitrust candidate, but Kane was anti-abortion. Yeah. Yeah, he was soft on the abortion thing. Yeah, Bernie shouldn't have did that. I agree with you. You're guilty of it, but you're right. Yeah, but yeah, I'm guilty of it. I agree. I grew up playing chess in a barbershop, and we talk shit to one another constantly. We talk mad shit to one another. When I'm dealing with this thing of politics, politics comes across a lot to me as chess and positioning and leverage and power and this type of thing, influence. So that same part of me is activated. So it's like when I'm doing a story and there's this feeling of, oh, I'm about to hit somebody. Well, yeah, it kicks in. I don't know if I have a go at Trump voters in this way. I think I have more of a go at Trump. His voters, I think some were disillusioned. I think some wanted something different. Some were, let's be honest, racist. Some were sexist. But I don't think the majority were. I think this was one of those things of, I don't want status quo. I'm sick of status quo. I need something different. Even if that something different is fucking insane. Well, you got something different. You got something different. God has nothing to do with their position. You can't say a baby has a right to life while arguing they have no right to prenatal care. Agreed. Agreed. It's like, we want you to have that baby, but the moment that you have that baby, we don't want to have anything to do with it. It's amazing. It's an insane position. I'm starting to back to the beginning of the video. And you know, there's another point to this. There is no such thing as a Christian conservative. No such thing. Doesn't exist. It is an oxymoron. Now, the press takes these guys as being serious. So they would say Paul Ryan is this Catholic and everything else. Paul Ryan is out there gutting and kicking mamas off of welfare, or throwing people or grandmothers off the ledge for Medicare. You saw a video that was rolling, you know, grandma off the ledge. At any opportunity, Paul Ryan tries to gut the social safety net. This idea of the poor, the helpless, the workers, the people who need most in order to give to the people who need it the least. That is the opposite of religious dogma. That is the opposite. I will be okay with the beliefs in God and Jesus and angels and all this other stuff. Do you? If you adhere to what was being taken place in regards to the poor, cash, and all this other stuff that's in the Bible. It in no way resembles a Republican position. Jesus in no way was a Republican. Where are you getting your Catholicism from? This reminds me of the science thing. You have these people who are talking about they disagree with global warming. It's like, okay, what are you basing that on? If you have all of these scientists that takes a particular position, like 90% of scientists taking a position, one thing after another, using evidence and information and everything else. I disagree. Okay. What are you using to disagree? Now, if Paul Ryan is using the Bible as his litmus test for his Catholicism, how the hell are you writing a budget that's that atrocious, that's that vindictive in regards to the poor and the people who need it, the social safety net? How are you doing that? Not just the poor, middle class. This budget that they were passing was going to raise revenue or raise taxes on the rest of the population while giving everybody else a tax cut, meaning the plutocrats a tax cut. Giving those guys $1 trillion. And they're looking to find ways to gut the social safety net and gut areas of government in order to pay for that $1 trillion. That's not going to you. But he's a Catholic. He's a God-fearing man. Fuck ever. Fuck ever. There's no such thing as Christian conservative. Chris Hedges is a visible example of Christian socialist. If you're an honest Christian, you are a socialist. There is no such thing as a Christian conservative. That's what I mean. Interesting. I didn't know that Chris Hedges was religious. Oh yeah, he was a minister. He was a minister. If you ever hear Chris Hedges give speeches, he sounds like a minister. He used to be a minister. But if you think the Catholic Church history, it makes perfect sense. Garno. Cruz is going to run in 2020. His PR blitz is going to be centered around letting a bunch of bikers abuse his wife on national television. You know, the funny part is, I took that first part serious, and then reading the last part, is like, okay, what the fuck is he talking about? Cruz. Yeah, Cruz is gross. Cruz is gross. Dax Jacobs. Climate change to now, people now say solar systems temperature are increasing. How do they know that? They pick and choose what science they listen to. I know, right? We don't believe this science. We believe this science. What? What? What are you basing this on? It's like, we're not going to choose a majority of scientists. We're going to choose a minority of scientists. But why? Why are you choosing one group of scientists over another group of scientists, let alone the minority position? Look, man, everything is ambiguous, so fair enough. It is very possible that the climate change thing is wrong. But who am I going to believe on this? This is physical matter reality. This is not new agey esoteric stuff. If we're having this conversation on reality, then yes, physicists need not apply, because physicists for the most part take as a religious belief that there is no such thing other than physical matter reality. So fair enough. But we're in their domain. We're talking about physical matter reality. These guys built our ships. They built our bombs. They explain the nature of reality to us through experimentation and results and everything else. And one sober scientist after another has lit himself on fire, saying, oh my God, our habitable environment is being destroyed by our actions on this planet. It is shocking to me that people see this and hear this and eat their Cheerios and go on their way as if this guy just didn't light himself on fire one after the next. Carbon, yes. I mean, you're talking about this idea of the carbon being in the atmosphere. They're acting as if these things are innocuous. Yeah, I would imagine a certain amount is innocuous, but just like anything else. Water is for the most part innocuous to you as a human being. If you drink 10 gallons of it, you will die. A certain amount, over a certain amount, it's poisonous. I don't understand why they think they're just making it up. That's the part I fundamentally miss. Your environment is a real thing. It is a real living thing. It is a system like any other system. It depends on certain processes that allow that system to persist itself. We as human beings also exist on that particular system. Now, as that system goes, so do we. Meaning, if our environment is spoiled, if we have bad air, if we have bad water, and all those things, we ourselves will suffer because of it. We are contaminating this by using our science and using our ingenuity in ways that are purely driven for the purpose of profit. Profit is not a real thing. Your environment is. You are. Those things are real. The market system is not. That's just human conception. There's not a God above that made it. That is a man-made creation. That man-made creation is doing things that is harming us and our environment, and is making this environment inhospitable. Now, I don't know the argument against that. That seems like a flat fact argument. That argument can be backed up by mounds of data. Like going from one thing after another. If you're talking about extinction events, if you're talking about this idea of the insects going away, it's such a rare and weird and bizarre thing. There was the thing of the death of the bumblebees. All the plastic that's in our oceans, the sperm count of men in the West going down by like 40%. 40% of extinctions taking place over the course of the last 40, 50 years. All of these things are taking place around us, and we do not pay attention to it. We don't see it. We act as if it doesn't exist. We act as if man is somehow separate and distinct from the environment that man exists and depends on. That is lunacy. That is lunacy. As your environment goes, so do you. Part of the reason why I'm so antagonistic towards the Democratic Party is because the party of the left, these guys scream at the top of their lungs about climate change, and then they put up a candidate who's selling fracking all across the world. It doesn't jive. Donald Trump says, I don't believe in climate change. So in no way does it stop me from putting coal and oil and all this other stuff. I have no conflict of interest here. Yes, he's wrong. Yes, he's a buffoon. No, he doesn't necessarily have anything to base it off other than making the shit up. But his position is consistent within itself. The Democratic Party gets out in every mic that it can find and scream, there's an asteroid that's about to hit the goddamn planet. But we're not going to really do anything about it. We believe in it, though. We believe in it. Your belief doesn't matter to me if you're not necessarily going to do anything about it. At that point, it's just a political talking point. Our world is falling apart. And the party that's supposed to be able to do something about it is out to lunch. Yes, this is a lefty argument. No, the right is not necessarily going to care about this particular argument, even though they are themselves susceptible to the environment that they live in. But you understand the argument can be crafted in different ways in order to get your other people to kind of sign on to that argument. But at the very least, you need an avenue and a vehicle that deals with that particular issue. And if we're being honest, do you honestly believe that the Democratic Party as it stands in any way is capable of dealing with environmental catastrophes that are coming from our behavior on this planet? The answer is no. If that answer is no, and we're heading for an environmental collapse, don't take my word for it. This is this kind of science thing. If we're heading for an environmental collapse, and the party that's supposed to have something to do about preventing that is out to goddamn lunch because they're taking a huge amount of cash and they can in no way deal with the industries that are adversely affecting our world in this way, then why are you voting for them? If you agree with me that you're going to hit a rock, if you agree with me that you're going to go off a cliff, if you agree with me that there is a bomb on the bus, there's an asteroid that's about the planet, and the people who are supposed to be the bomb detectors and the people who are supposed to get rid of that bomb and do something about that bomb, or at the very least mention the fact that the bomb exists and they're going to take steps to do something about it, are out to lunch. If we're going to get hit, why are you voting for them? Aren't your chances best spent in trying to fix that party, even if you have to take the back seat for a while in order to do it? This is a Breyer defense. I move my knight out to c6, I move my knight out back to b8. I don't like it. There are real world consequences. But if I think we're going to hit a wall anyway, fuck doesn't matter. My chances are better off burning that party to the ground and changing it into something else. If I think we're going to go off of a cliff, I would rather go off of a cliff fighting to change the thing and fighting to get into the wheel of the car that's going to, drive me away from the cliff. Yeah, that's my position on this. I know it started off saying it was going to be bleak or whatever else, or it was going to be a bright spot. It's not a bright spot. We're in prehistory, and we have work to do. How that work gets done, I don't know. How you change and move things in order to find some kind of political avenue to articulate your will, I don't know. How you get the mass of the population, whether it be 10%, how do you get 3-4 million people to wake up and flood Washington, D.C. saying, we want a fundamental change in the way things are? Lefties and righties, at the very least, agreeing that we don't like this corruption. This corruption is horrible. We need to change our voting system, period. Even if it's just on those two topics. To agree, unite, and attack the political apparatus itself as a whole. I don't know how you do that. But that's what you need to get done if you're talking about actually changing the way things are. Putting a politician in office like the Justice Democrats approach of, we're just going to run candidates. You need a population. You have pitchforks or dollars. You don't have the dollars. You don't have the dollars. You need pitchforks. The dollars that you do have was best spent organizing and arranging people in a way to get those people fired up and pissed off, and even if not necessarily in a union, to be in political alignment all throughout the United States, to create the edifice and structure that allow those people to communicate and interact with one another, to almost be like fish in a school where something takes place, those people can come to some consensus on what they want to do in some kind of summit in a holistic way all throughout the United States, and vote in unison. That's a movement. That's a people's movement. You had the potential and the edifice to do so. You guys wanted to be fucking heroes and go in and say, we're going to save the day with the Justice Democrats. Good luck. I could be wrong, but good luck. What you're talking about need people. You need masses. I don't know how you wake people up. A president can do it, yes. How do you get that president if you don't wake those people up in the first place? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, it's bleak. This is bleak. The only move, the only bow, the only thing that I can come to a consensus on, the only thing I'm sure of all the things that I encounter and all the things I think about in regards to politics and everything else, the only thing that I'm sure of, even when I don't necessarily know what to do, I know what not to do. Not support something that goes against my best interests. I'm okay saying no. And I'm okay standing still until I find something better. Or until I find a decision or a conclusion or something else. But at the very least, I'm not going to support the people who's been selling us out for all these years. And I'm not going to reward bad behavior. That's my starting point. I figured shit out as I go along. So the Moody Arizona soapbox, some people will never wake up. You don't need all of them. You only need a percentage. The civil rights movement didn't have the entirety of the nation. Even in the height of the civil rights movement, whites were like, I don't see a problem. I don't see the problem. I don't know why these Negroes are acting this way. I don't see a problem. I'm terrified of Malcolm X. I'll tell you that much. I tried to give a Pacific Island water technology and found out I needed a 5,000 NGO registration with the UN to give it to him. That's fucking insane. That's fucking insane. Start by banning air conditioning, then go after gas power plants. I would nationalize energy markets overnight. I would nationalize energy markets. I would say, look, we need to have a fundamentally different way of energy. You guys are destroying our world. Yes, I'm nationalizing energy markets. Further to the left than most. I mean, this seems like a natural course. If scientists are telling me that global warming and climate change and all this other stuff are problematic, and that these guys have a fiscal interest in making that worse, I need to get rid of that fiscal interest. I need to take that energy company. Now, I'm going to give that energy company back to the public in the sense of saying that whatever these people are paying for their energy and everything else, the price is going to drop because it's no longer a for-profit enterprise. Also, this idea of putting solar power, meaning giving the government, giving stipends and grants for people to put these energy things on their houses. And at a certain point, any house that's built should have the capacity to be independent unto itself. Don't need to be on a grid. You can be off the grid. Your house can be a separate and distinct thing unto itself. That should be the sane and democratic position if you're talking about green energy revolution. Particularly if you're trying to make this argument to right-wingers on why they should care. They may not care about climate change. They may not care about the environment and that stuff. Would they care about not paying a power bill? Yes. Yes. That's called self-interest. Oh, the government is giving me cash so I don't have to pay a power bill. They're disconnecting me from the thing. In fact, some of that money can even go back into the grid itself if you yourself are using less than what power that you need for it. Yeah, those people will be on board for it because of the way you crafted their argument. It just depends on how you craft the argument. You just don't have anybody making the argument. They're in the pockets of the people who are giving them the cash. We need harder energy grid against EMPs, period. Whatever facilitates this, whether it's nationalization or something else, I'll support it. Agreed, Garden. Agreed. Merced Cali. Sorry, book is called Entropia. I know what entropy is. I know what entropia is. Moody Arizona Soapbox. Jamarl, are you following what has been going on with the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? Yes and no. I've been seeing stuff in my Twitter feed and everything else, and I've read a few stories on it, but I can't say I've followed it. I can't say I know everything that's going on with it. I know people have been protesting it. I know that much. Bob Rumersa just requires lifestyle changes. Yes, for everybody. Tomosa Young. If you look good in a bathing suit, then I wouldn't mind banning air conditions. You can do without air conditionings if we legalize going topless. That should be legalized anyway, regardless of air conditions or not. Like, I don't understand why women aren't allowed to show their boobs. They should be allowed to. Yeah, they should be allowed to. I mean, think about it. It's a weird thing. It's a human body. It's like, what do you think is going to take place with women walking around with their tits showing? I don't understand why this is such a bad thing. And I'm not saying this from a, you know, like, ooh, like you're gawking at it. What would happen is men wouldn't gawk at all. You would just get so accustomed to the fact that women are walking around topless. Okay, the woman is walking around topless. Men gawk at things because men aren't necessarily, they don't have those things in the ready. It's like those things, women are covered up. Women are covered up, guys are guys. They're human beings. They're like, ooh, I wonder what's under that covering. It's this thing of you want what you don't necessarily have access to. You want what you don't necessarily have. And having breasts covered up constantly in this way. And again, I don't necessarily know why. Why are men able to go topless but women aren't? This seems weird to me. It seems completely bizarre. I can understand this thing of not having a swinging dick around. Fair enough. Dicks are not attractive. And the breast thing being out has nothing to do with attractiveness. It just has to do with why are men allowed to go topless but women aren't? It does make sense to me. Breasts are fantastic organs for dissipating heat. Yes, they are. Snort. I agree. Politicians have mommy issues. It's bizarre that it's criminalized behavior. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. Nice JT getting us to second base. Hang on, John. Correct. It would take time, but people get used to them. Yeah, it would get used to it. The next generation who's dealing with that, it would be as common can be. Think of tribes that are naked, completely nude. Men aren't gawking at the women. They're just used to it. Woman comes out the house, her tits are showing. She's, you know, she goes about her day. The guy just goes about his day. He sees it every day. It's natural as natural can be to him. It's not like he just jumps on it. Now, you deprive them from that. You put clothing on women in this way. you know, cover up the assets, you sexualize it and all this other stuff, then yeah, guys are gonna gawk, guys are gonna go for the breasts as soon as they have sex. Women are like, no, I need you to touch me in other places. It's like, yeah, okay, this is getting dirty. No pants, no shirt policy. So testicles, those testicles work. Boobies feed the world. Yes, boobies do. Babies eat breast milk. Babies need breast milk. That's your best bet. Not the shit, the synthesized stuff. What's coming out the God's nipple. Tied off Jamarl. I'm trying to, Bob. Nice, I can get rid of those fake x-ray glasses from DC Comics. Nudity should not be a legal matter. Agreed, Gardner. Agreed. We're human beings. We're animals. Just like everybody else. Tomosa Young, it's bad to grab what we're attracted to. No, it's not bad. It's just sometimes women are saying, you know, I want you to touch other places. For second campaign, I walk away for a couple of minutes and everyone is talking about getting naked. I know, it's insane. Thoughts on the new Star Wars? I have not seen the new Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars buff. So I saw Rogue Nation and I was in love with Rogue Nation. I love that movie. There's a gravity to that movie. Like when the stormtroopers and some of the other ones looked goofy, but the stormtroopers in this look like stormtroopers. They look like cops. Like they had this gravity about these guys will beat the shit out of you because they're paid to beat the shit out of you. It's intense. That's intense. Hide noses for 100 years, see if it becomes a sexual organ. Tied off Jamarl was in swinging. Swinging dick. Alright, so this is funny, but this is off color, but it's funny. When my wife and I got married in Iceland, and I wonder if I can find pictures for that because it was a beautiful thing. So we got married in Iceland, and in getting married in Iceland, one of the things that drew me to Iceland was the Blue Lagoon. Now the Blue Lagoon, I think it's Blue Lagoon, blue, maybe something else, but I think it's Blue Lagoon, which is just kind of a spa, but it's a natural hot spring. Iceland has hot springs all over the entire country. Those things be bursting out the mountain as you're driving through. It's the weirdest architecture. Like the landscape is gorgeous. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. When you're getting off from the bus, going to your hotel or whatever, it's like you're on the dark side of the moon. It looks like so alien to you. But we go to the Blue Lagoon. And as we go to the Blue Lagoon, we find out through a comedian, mind you, we didn't know this in advance, that you have to be butt naked to get into the lagoon. Now, we didn't know that. And not just butt naked, like when you take a shower and everything else, you have to be butt naked. And they have inspectors in the showers to make sure that you're indeed butt naked when you're washing. Because for them, they have all these people coming from all across the world, and they need to make sure that that place stays clean and sanitary. So, I have body issues that I know are purely in my head, but I have them nonetheless, from some scarring and everything else, some surgeries and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, so I'm like, oh man, this is uncomfortable. But whatever, you do it. It's one of those things, you just do it. You suck it up and you do it. And you get washed, and you go in. Now, the United States has certain sensitivities in regards to sexuality, like the breast things. Like, oh my God, we have to cover the breasts, or how dare you show your breasts and feeding that kid in public. Like insane stuff, like massively insane stuff. These cultural hangups, they're bizarre. Again, product of my culture. And you know, you walk into the locker room, and people from other countries don't necessarily have those issues. It's like you have all these people from all around the world swinging dicks. Like nothing takes place. Like soon as you walk in, God just takes his pants off. It's like, whoa, dude, come on, man, come on, dog. I need a little bit of prep time before you whip that out like that. Like, yeah, go to the Blue Lagoon because the Blue Lagoon is fucking awesome. But yeah, that was an experience. That was an experience. The Blue Lagoon is awesome, by the way. It's freezing in Iceland. And yet, at the same token, you have this water that's blistering hot. They have the hottest sauna that I think I've ever been to in my life. It's awesome. Ah, here we are. We this was one of our wedding pictures. We yeah, this was the Bills. So we drove out past Reykjavik. Yes, I wear Chucks. I wear Chucks all the time. Either Chucks or flip flops. Yeah, we're in the car getting ready. Now it started raining. It started raining like immediately after the wedding, and so it was this weird thing of the woman finishes, and even the woman who was doing the sermon, she was like a public functionary. She was in a like a justice of the peace in the country. She had on a pair of Chucks. She was like, "Is it okay if I wear a pair of Chucks?" My wife's like, "He's also wearing a pair of Chucks." He's wearing a pair of pink Chucks. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Auger. No grass stains on that dress. Can't see the back. Well, that wasn't her main wedding dress. So we had two weddings. Not because I wanted to. We had one in the States for family. And then we had... The one in Iceland was a real one. That's the one we got the wedding certificate and everything else. And then we got back into the country and they had the real one for the... Not the real one. Had the fake one. It's the fake one. We had the fake one for the family. It was like a show at that point. Family was like, "Oh, we're not going to be able to go to Iceland." My mom was like, "Pooh, I have bad knees. I can't make it to Iceland." It's like, all right, fine. We'll have another one. Fine. We have another one. I woke up. Are we talking about Booby Sanders? We're not talking about Booby Sanders. I hope you enjoy the whale food. Uh-oh. My lefty bona fides are being taken down a bit. A Scorpion 32. I hope you enjoyed the whale food those motherfuckers love to eat. Alright, so the whale thing is interesting. Now, the woman in Iceland, so we did Airbnb. And they were fucking amazing. The woman was nice as can be. It was a couple. And they took us around town the very first night to go to the store to pick up some groceries. And so, give us kind of a tour of Iceland. She showed us Parliament. She showed us where they locked up the bankers and threw those people in prison. She showed us the Harper and all that stuff. But we went to the pier. And as we got to the pier, on one side was whale hunting. And then the other side was whale spotting. Now, when I kind of made this point, like, whale hunting. I was like, "You guys are hunting whales?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, I somewhat frowned upon that. And she frowned upon the fact that I frowned upon that. What makes whales so fucking special? Let's start there. Now look, I'm taking a position on this because I don't think you should be hunting whales. That's the first point. Second point is the reason that they were using to hunt whales seems sketchy to me. It's not a fucking tourist attraction. It's one thing if you're doing it because of a lifestyle, you're trying to eat and everything else. But if you're doing it just for tourists, that's insane. Also, the majority of the people who eat whales there are tourists, not the people in Iceland. Like, they go whale hunting and everything else, but that's for the tourists. That's because tourists come in and say, "Oh, you guys eat whale. I want to eat whale." There's a difference. Now, don't necessarily agree with it, but it's their country. None of my business. I would prefer they not do it, but again, to some degree, it's none of my business. But we kill and eat everything. What makes whales so special? Like, we eat all sorts of fish out of the sea. We eat shark. We eat cows. We eat, well, in some places we eat dogs and cats. But friends of the family, when they were growing up, they used to eat raccoons, chickens, anything that they could shoot, kill, or catch, be it squirrels or anything else. Why are whales special in this? I don't understand why whales are special. Like, why isn't this argument made for the rest of the animal kingdom? That's all I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. And yes, you can make an argument for the rest of the animal kingdom. People do. People do. Let's see. Star Trek movie, don't kill whales or else. Yeah, that was an awesome one. That was an awesome one. It was when Spock came back. I'm not down with the whale hunting, but the rest of it is cool to me. Yeah, I'm not down with the whale hunting either. I didn't go on a whale hunting boat. We did go on a whale spotting boat. Saw a bunch of dolphins and everything else. There's this picture of my wife. She wasn't feeling well. She doesn't do well on boats. And she's ensconced in this is the funniest shit you ever see. She's ensconced in this suit, because they give people suits like whale hunting, like whale suits, like whale watching suits, because of water and everything else, and it's freezing cold. And she's sitting on the boat, freezing cold. Like, I don't want to be a part of this process. I don't feel well. It was sad and funny. Intelligent mammals that could be easily endangered. You mean human beings? It would be way too easy for us to wipe out the rest of the whales if it became acceptable those whales live 200 years. But that's all of those things are known. Like, that's I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. Let me start there. But why is that not the argument for the rest of the animal species? That's what I don't get. You should not kill whales. One whale equals to a national forest, CO2 reduction wise. Good point, Snark. I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, good point. Good point. Alright guys, I am going to kill this. This is this is supposed to be like a 30-minute video. This is gone for like over 2 hours. I am glad that you guys joined me, and I appreciate the fact that you guys joined me. I am going to try to do... It seems like I do these easier when I first get home. Meaning, I think the format is probably going to be short vid with one long vid. Something to that effect. It may not be a long vid every day, but if I am up for it, if the crowd is there and jumping and responding, then yes, I'll probably stay on longer. But I like this format. I like it. The videos are less crisp because I can't go back if I fuck up. Anna, you've been here. I've been live the whole time. I'm live now. Did you ever see Northern Lights? That was on my bucket list. Oh, that was on my bucket list, and we didn't get the chance to see it. So my wife and I went during the summertime. And because we went during the summer, it was light, like 23 hours of the day. And so you need pitch blackness, apparently, to see the Northern Lights. The best that we could do is go to this place called Northern Lights, where you had like a virtual reality of Northern Lights. It is on our list. I think what we're going to have to do is go through Canada to see it. Otherwise, we're not going to see it. We are trying to do this thing of just traveling. Like working remotely and traveling. I love to travel. I would leave tomorrow. She knows I would leave tomorrow. Like she's like, fine, let's go next year. Let's do it next year. But essentially go from place to place to place to place. Find somewhere abroad. Put down roots. If you find somewhere that you like. But I want to be untethered. And I don't want to be a bag in the wind. Meaning I want to be able to define what I want to do. And if what I want to do is travel, I want to be able to travel. So Iceland was good though. Iceland was a good trip. I liked it. Because that well may possess philosophy, mathematics, and music. Yeah, man, but what if that's the case? We kill a lot of people that has philosophy, music. I mean, 90% of people we're murdering, we didn't know who they were. We get Northern Lights up here on occasion. Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah, in Canada, we're trying to do a Canadian trip. Canada's like maybe 3 hours by air. And there's an observatory that's supposed to be out that has Northern Lights in the wintertime. So that was supposed to be the plan. I don't know if we're still going to pull that plan off because I've had right many expenses with the car and all. So make sure you have a good data plan, because now you have to broadcast to YouTube on any trip you take. That's true. That's true. When I was in Ecuador and I had to do the broadcast, and it was like the internet was slightly dicey. It was better at night, not so good through the daytime. It allowed me to upload the videos, so I was able to pull them off, but recording live was difficult. But yeah, data plan would be a big deal. Yeah, but data plan would be a big deal. Because look, I would still do YouTube videos. I enjoy doing YouTube videos. And not just YouTube videos. I kind of want to expand this. Like, I think to myself, I am not a news agency. Like, my channel is for the most part just me. At least that's why I resolved it. I have no issue in putting on airs or anything else. Like, the issue that comes on my channel is just the issues I'm interested in. If I'm talking about Star Trek, if I'm talking about aliens, if I'm talking about politics, it's just shit I'm interested in. It makes your life easier when you don't stress anything else other than this is just who I am. I would either be accepted or rejected on the premise of who I am, and I can live with it in either case. So I don't have this thing of a conflict of interest in that way. I would love to try to, but see, we already have too many organizations. It's like every lefty wants to create their own organization to do XYZ. I would just like to expand my channel. That's all. That would be probably my goal. If I was thinking of my goal for Patreon, it would be to get to the point where the channel itself is is the main thing, is the thing that I put the majority of my focus in. And then think of ways of going beyond that to expand the channel beyond what it is. That type of stuff. It gives space. Do you have a BitChute? I don't have one yet, but I saw Same Progressive had one. She started using videos on that. Not just BitChute. It's like BitChute, VidMe, and that was another one. I told my wife I'm gonna have to pay somebody to just upload videos in those places. She was like, "How much are you charging? How much are you gonna? How much are you gonna give? How much are you gonna give?" But yeah, I'm gonna start putting my videos on those cases just in case the YouTube thing falls apart. I would argue there probably should be a mass exodus from YouTube just to kind of get across what you're doing is a fail, and that there are other options. I don't think that's going to take place, but that's what should happen. Solidarity. Cooking with Jamarl. No, so I did start another channel, by the way. This channel was, I think it was called like Sci-Fi Politics or something like that. But it allowed this thing of talking about science fiction, politics, the politics of science fiction, the philosophy of some of the science fiction. What does the science fiction mean? Some of the, somewhat of this open channel to have conversations specifically about those things. I gotta be honest, I get a kick out of it. I love talking about the politics of Star Trek and all. We talk about that shit all night. D2 Stimmet. Don't know what Stimmet is. Alright, it's 2:21. I have my wife in the other room. I did have one more vid, but that's probably gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Alright guys, thank you for showing up. And I know I said this before, the whole, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe, etc, etc. But yeah, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. I am going to try to, my wife is like, you need to nail down a time where you're doing this, or where it's kind of, everybody knows that you're going to be there at a particular time. Bad at that, and I fail at that. Like, I try to say Sunday at 8 o'clock, and I fail miserably at it, because it's like, all right, Sunday at 6 o'clock, I'm ready to do it. Then by 8 o'clock, it's like, all right, I don't feel like doing it. So it's like doing it when you're feeling like doing it, like being in the mood to do it. So it makes it harder to say, okay, I'm going to set a set time for this. Not to mention after work and everything else, it becomes a little tiring. Fortunately, I enjoy it. Fortunately, this is just me. Otherwise, this would be hard to do. So, good night, everybody. He loves sci-fi but hates politics with a passion. I love sci-fi. I love both. I love both. I just get aggravated with politics. All right, guys. Have a good night, everyone. What is it? Joy, peace, and soul, or something like that. Soul Train thing. All right, guys. Have a good night.